is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa.
This is the Business Day television broadcast.
Good morning and welcome to the BDTV Breakfast Show. My name is Elizabeth Musa and it's a pleasure to have you start your day with us. We've got a packed show lined up for you today, but first, let's see what's making top stories today. Naira strengthens to 1,650 Naira per dollar as dollar faces largest weekly loss. We will listen, adjust where necessary, Shatima tells Nigerians. CBN sets deadline for FX compliance reports. Asian stocks drop after Trump's huge tariff threat. Victor Osimhen set to join Cristiano Ronaldo at Al Nassr. We begin the news in Nigeria, where the Naira rose to 1,650 Naira per dollar in the parallel market on Monday as the US dollar experienced its most significant weekly loss. This marked a 0.6% gain or 10 Naira from the 1,660 Naira per dollar recorded on Friday in the black market. In the official foreign exchange market, the Naira closed out last week on Friday at 1,531 per dollar. Naira, reflecting an improvement over the prior week. This represents a 1.1% appreciation week on week, with the dollar quoted at 1,531 Naira, 17 Naira stronger than the previous Friday's 1,548 rate in the Nigerian foreign exchange market, according to data from the Central Bank of Nigeria. The US dollar saw a decline on Friday, positioning it for its biggest weekly loss in more than a year after President Donald Trump hinted at a more lenient approach towards tariffs in China. The uncertainty surrounding trade policy also contributed to volatility in equity market. Moving on now, Vice President Kashim Shettima assured Nigerians that the government is open to making adjustments where necessary, emphasizing the administration's commitment to addressing citizens' concerns and building a prosperous future. Speaking at a national conference on strengthening democracy in Abuja, Shettima, represented by Special Advisor on Political Matters Hakim Baba Ahmed, acknowledged the challenges posed by recent government policies. The Vice President described the administration's efforts as part of a necessary transition from a broken past to a promising future. He called on Nigerians to remain patient, assuring them that the difficulties faced today would yield long-term benefit. The Vice President said the government is committed to addressing key challenges, including economic reforms, national security, and anti-corruption efforts, while strengthening democratic institutions such as the judiciary. Still on now, the Central Bank of Nigeria's directed participants in the foreign exchange market to submit compliance report on adherence to the Nigeria FX Code by January 31, 2025. This directive is part of efforts to strengthen ethical practices, governance, and transparency in the market. The Nigeria FX Code, which became effective on December 2, 2024, sets out principles of good practice to ensure a robust, fair, and transparent foreign exchange market. It applies to authorized dealers licensed under the CBN Act of 2007, the Bank and Other Financial Institutions Act of 2020, and other entities engaged in wholesale FX business in Nigeria. Now to end the local news, the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, AAC, in 2023, Omoyele Sowore, has rejected the bail conditions set by the Nigeria Police Force. Sowore, who arrived at the force headquarters in Abuja yesterday for questioning, said he declined the conditions which required him to deposit his international passport and present a level 17 civil servant as a guarantor. Speaking after his appearance, the activist accused the police of failing to clarify the charges against him, describing the process as a joke. The police had invited Sowore for questioning on Monday over allegations of cyber-stalking, negligent acts, and intimidation. He said he has offered to remain under custody till the joke is over. And on the foreign scene, Asian markets mostly fell on Monday on fresh trade fairs after Donald Trump's threat to impose high tariffs on Colombia in retaliation for its refusal to accept deportation flights from the United States. Traders were also assessing the impact of a new, cheaper Chinese generative AI program and claims it can outperform big-name rivals, and worries that a recent surge in the sector may be called into question. Equities enjoyed a healthy run-up last week on the hope that Trump 2.0 will take a less hardball approach to global trade, as held of imposing stiff levies on China and other partners immediately on taking office. His comments that he would rather not eat Beijing and a signal of openness to a trade deal added to the optimistic tone. However, reports say that would hit Colombian goods with a 25% tariff, rising to 50% next week, and revoke the visas of government officials, set off alarm bells. The move came after President Gustavo Petro blocked deportation flights from the United States. Thousands of excited Palestinians have embarked on the journey back to the Israeli established Netzarim corridor, which bisects the strip following a ceasefire agreement that brought to end the 15-month-long war that left many dead. Reports say they could be seen going on foot with their belongings, cheerful and optimistic of what's left of the devastation of their homes. The Israeli military earlier said it would allow Palestinians to cross via the coastal Al-Rashid Street by foot, starting at 7 a.m. Monday, and the central Salah al-Din Street by vehicle from 9 a.m. as part of the agreement. Hamas has described the return as a victory for Palestinians. And now to sports. Saudi Pro League side Al Nassr have reportedly started negotiations with Bayer Leverkusen to sign Nigerian striker Victor Boniface as a replacement for Anderson Talisca, who is set to join Fenerbahce. Al Nassr are looking to sign Boniface to bolster their attack, which already features Cristiano Ronaldo and Sadio Mane. Football transfer expert Fabrizio Romano confirmed recently on his X account that Al Nassr have initiated official discussions to secure the 24-year-old Super Eagles striker's signature. This also aims to fend off interest from Premier League clubs including Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester. Boniface recently extended his contract with the Bundesliga side until 2026, making him one of their highest earners. Out to end the news, Manchester United manager Ruben Amorim has called for improvement after the Red Devils struggled to get a scrappy 1-0 victory over Fulham on Sunday. The victory lifted United to 12th position in the Premier League table, 13 points clear of the relegation zone, while performance continued to highlight persistent struggles under two different managers this season. The manager admitted that there is a need for the club to improve with the ball. Now, these were the headlines today on the BDTV Breakfast Show. We'll be back soon for the top story analysis. Do stay with us.
When you think about the word supplements, it tells you that you're trying to make up something that isn't there.
Right.
But if you're a normal human being, you don't have any what we call malabsorption syndromes, like your body can absorb the food that you eat. You actually don't need them.
Right.
So every nutrient that you require can be consumed in the food that you eat.
Right.
You find out that a lot of those people that are on so-called low-carb diets tend to constantly have low energy. You're not able, so your brain actually needs glucose to function.
Yes.
So you sort of operate below your potential because you're constantly hungry. However, it depends on your level of physical activity. For example, if I'm a laborer or I'm a farmer, I work on the farm, obviously I'm going to need more carbohydrates because I'm expending more energy. But if you're someone like most of us that have desk jobs, you get into the office at 8 in the morning, you sit till 5.
Yeah, exactly.
You're really sedentary. Where we recommend supplements typically are, for example, if an individual has what we call a malabsorption syndrome, like your body can absorb the food that you eat.
Right.
Or say pregnant women, your requirements are a lot more because of the baby. We put them on supplements to make up for the deficiency. But for a normal human being, every single nutrient that you require can be consumed in food.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's
so
good to know.
save your money.
Thank you, Dr. Blossom, for that.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
So I'm Sam Abu. I'm the country senior partner for PwC Nigeria and the regional senior partner for PwC West Market, which is West Africa.
The event has just been wrapped up and it was really, really insightful. I want to know, aside from like my own personal experience, what was the reason why this roundtable was so important to hold?
This forum, these kind of sessions provide us an opportunity to have very important conversations about the direction of the country. There are a number of business leaders in the room today, as you saw. And the one thing that business leaders are contending with is how to navigate the complexities of operating in the kind of global economic environment that we are into. So these conversations or these sessions enable us to share perspectives and insights and information about how the strategies to deploy in running our businesses. But I think it's also very important in shaping the conversations we need to have in this country about the direction of travel of the country. Because we are all, whether business leaders or individuals, we're all stakeholders in this country.
Yes.
So having this opportunity to have conversations and discussions about our economy, about the budget, about government reforms and policies is a critical part of the job that we have to do as business leaders, as individuals in this country. So this is, I would say that is the primary motivation for doing something like this. But I think it's of immense value to everybody who attends it.
Thank you so much. I also want to know, what is your major takeaway from this event?
If I was to say the one thing that I took away was optimism. You know, I mean, we kind of came in there today. Everybody had a slightly pessimistic view of where 2025, what 2025 would mean for businesses, especially given where we're coming from in 2024. Think about the macroeconomic challenges that we've had to deal with in 2024 in Nigeria and even across the world: inflation, currency volatility, you just name it. But the overwhelming sentiment today was positivity. Like, I think it can't get any worse than it was last year, you see? So inflation, the outlook is that inflation is going to come down, going to trend down. There's going to be some stability in exchange rates. There's even a suggestion that exchange rate might come down. God, amen to that, right?
Amen. Yeah.
So yeah, I would say the overwhelming sentiment is 2025 will be a better year than 2024, and we'll begin to see an upward trajectory in all our metrics, economic metrics. Of course, the road ahead is still rough. 2024 was that it is a better year doesn't mean it is perfect or it is good. Yeah. It is just that we're coming from a very low base when you talk about inflation or currency volatility. So the fact that we're going up, we're trending up, is reason to be hopeful and reason to be optimistic about the future of business in Nigeria.
Thank you so much, sir, for sitting with us and granting us this interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
So I would like to get what your key takeaways from this event. I believe that you were not just a panelist, but you were also a member of the audience.
Yeah, the key takeaway for me will be that there was the consistency and consensus that the reforms were the right reforms, and that the direction of travel is going to take us to the Nigeria that we want. It's also one of the takeaways also that the outlook for 2025 is much better than 2024 was. And this is not just because we're being optimistic. It is based on what the data is saying around inflation expectations and the factors that were stoking inflation in 2024, which are no longer there in 2025. In addition to the base effect that, you know, it can be worse than it was before. Yeah. And then you have expectation around interest rates, because as inflation begins to moderate, the monetary authorities will have the reason to cut interest rates. And also, even additionally, we have the credit concession scheme for the businesses. All of these altogether mean that we should have the opportunity to celebrate or begin to celebrate in 2025 that the sacrifices that we made as a people is beginning to yield results. And for people generally, it's to not just all be negative about the economy, because that way you may miss out on the opportunities, which I think are abound across all sectors.
Okay, so based on the panel that you just had, I heard that you spoke a lot about data, and from what we're just discussing right now, you seem to be a very big believer of data. So what are the opportunities that people should look forward to investing into in 2025 if they want to thrive in their businesses?
I think it cuts across all sectors, because whether you're talking about manufacturing or industry generally, whether you're talking about services, including financial services, telecommunication, whether you're talking about energy sector, we have a lot of focus around energy in particular, from renewable to additional investments, including the policy decentralizing electricity regulation, which means that the state can now decide, you know, to generate and put whatever excess into the grid. So those reforms are also going to provide opportunities across the board. Even the tariff increase on telecommunication, why nobody is happy that tariffs are going up, the issue is that will help them to improve quality, and quality of service will feed into the economy by way of better productivity, which will overcompensate for the additional tariff and that we're having to bear. And so I do think that depending on the sector you operate, just look out for the opportunities and you will find.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. It was really lovely sitting with you. I want to know, is there any other thing you would like to add? Maybe a question that you felt was not answered properly in the hall, or you would like to say anything here?
No, I think it's just to encourage everyone to play their part and engage with the government constructively. And that's way to solve the problems. Complaints don't solve problems. Ideas and solutions are the ways to solve problems.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for sitting with us.
My name is Dr. Gabriel Ubechi. I'm the Group Managing Director of Rain Oil Limited.
You spoke really well in your panel and you did really amazing with the questions that were thrown at you also. But we still have more questions and we just want to know, what is your outlook for this year?
You are watching Business Day Television.
Welcome back. This is still the BDTV Breakfast Show. I'm Elizabeth, and I have here with me in the studio Mr. Mohammed Akonji. He's going to be discussing our top stories today with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank
I
you.
hope
How
you
are
had a
you
good
today?
night. Oh, very well. I mean, just waking up to those barrage of stories that happened. I don't know, we heard about the rebels in Rwanda about to enter into Congo. I think I was checking that before I came to the studio.
Really?
And how, yes, I think one of the biggest cities in Congo right now, the city of Goma, the M23 rebels took over. And then I think I woke up and the very big news I saw was how the DeepSeek AI, this Chinese chatbot, how it has actually been able to stun the market. I think it has actually been dominating the news. So the way, in fact, I mean, NVIDIA, the US usual, yes, suffered about $250 billion yesterday, 1 day loss.
1 day loss.
Yes, I mean, it's really been generating, maybe just be able to
It's
catch up
getting the
on
buzz,
it. It is really,
I did see it this
driving
morning
the
on
market.
the news,
I mean,
yes.
so the Chinese just able to launch their chatbots, and in fact, one of them, I think one of the analysts this morning said that this is a Sputnik moment, when the space war started between US and Russia, and how Russia came up with the Sputnik, that this is something related to that, because the emergence into the market is really hitting the market very, very hugely.
Right.
So I think was the things I'll actually be able to go through this morning, and I'm trying to be able to catch up on them and see how those developments is really ramping up and sweeping across the global market space.
Global market, yeah, right. And speaking of the global market and bringing it to Nigeria, CBN sets deadline for FX compliance reports. And I'm sure this is a story that you've been following up on, certainly. So you probably have one or two things to also share. Then Asian stocks drop after Trump's huge tariff threat, and I dare say people might have seen this coming in a way, seeing some of these stocks dropping, rising, and whatever. But it dropping after his tariff threat, to me, it's a little bit of a dampener, if you ask me. And then let's talk about CBN setting deadline for FX compliance reports.
Yeah. So I mean, the deadline was actually set for January 31. Don't forget, exchange rate pressure has been a major challenge in this country, and across other basket of currencies, especially in the African continent. So CBN came up with the electronic and foreign exchange markets in November to ensure that these gaps that we always see, most especially between the NAFE market and the NAFEX market, or the official market and the parallel market, narrowed. So when you have a gap of, as it used to be before then, a gap of 100 to 150 naira, for example, you tend to be able to give chance to an arbitrage. We call them arbitrage. Somebody who buys from a cheaper market to sell in a more expensive market at a gain. So if I know very well that, for example, I can be able to get dollar somewhere, let us assume for 1,000 naira, and I can be able to sell it in another market within Nigeria, mind you. For example, just a very simple analysis. I can get it in Ibadan for 1,000, and I can sell it in Lagos for 1,500. So somebody can take advantage of that gap. And that is why Central Bank came up with this electronic foreign exchange modeling system, where to allow for the synchronization, harmonization of all these the FX code. So the new FX code that the Central Bank brought about was in November. Then first week of December, that information circulated rounds to banks that by January 31st, all banks need to be able to harmonize their foreign exchange system. So the purpose of that is just to be able to ensure a lot of good practices in the system, there have been a lot of infractions. I'm sure we all know that. Just emanating from people, transparency, lack of transparency and accountability within that market, that foreign exchange space. And it is just another in the line of reforms that the central bank have introduced to try to be able to put a hold, a leash on, the foreign exchange movement. We've seen how over the years it has actually tried to bolt away from even what the central bank wanted it to be able. As much as possible, the central bank, as I said, has introduced several policies to stabilize the value of the naira, especially when we look at it against the greenback. So this new code, we call it the foreign exchange code, it's just not an instruction to banks. The came about in December to allow all banks and all the players in the space, the business exchange operators, the commercial banks, and some other parallel market dealers to comply to foreign exchange harmonization.
Right.
That's actually the idea. January 31 is the deadline. I think that's this Friday, if I'm not mistaken, for all banks to be able to submit their report. So that code will be able to give us, okay, how much is actually issued to each banks, how much do they sell out, what do they have in stock. So as to be able, as I said, the essence is just to be able to ensure, to entrench transparency and to be able to entrench integrity in the market. So the compliance report, banks have actually been mandated to submit all their reports, how they've actually done with the allocations they've gotten so far, and how they are expected to be able to go about the allocations that they will receive in the future. So as to at least just remember, the idea there is to ensure transparency and to be able to stabilize the value.
So basically to ensure transparency and stabilize the value of the naira. But let's talk about the Asian markets stock dropping with President Trump introducing the tariff threats that he introduced.
It's actually coming up with. Okay, so I think that's another thing. Trump has actually been a firecracker of a president. I know him to be. In fact, one of them that he did before the Asian market. So the market itself is actually the sensitivity nature of the market. He has not really, because he has not really come up with tariff imposition yet. But the initial recourse came from what happened to Colombia. I think on Saturday morning we heard that they have packed some Colombians, illegal migrants who are in the US, and they wanted to be able to send them back to Colombia yesterday. So the Colombian president on Sunday morning said they will not receive them. And then immediately he asked the commission, the Secretary of Trade, the Department of Trade, to impose a 25% tariff on Colombia. So maybe the president hearing that, and the next thing, the president recanted. I'm talking about the president of Colombia recanted that they will welcome the migrants that will be on the planes and they'll be brought back to Colombia. So, but the Trump effect, remember, the Trump effect has actually been taking a hold on the market. And just like I told you at our little intro when we began, the last week, Trump, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, NVIDIA and what's it called? Some of these major AI players. There was actually a very strong investment that they made in the market. In fact, a lot of them have been talking about hemorrhaging funds that they've been suffering. So with the DeepSeek, for example, coming out from China and some other inventions, his attempt has actually been that they are going to be able to improve more tariffs, especially to people who have taken, in his word, those have actually been able to take the magnanimity of US and then try to be able to use that against them. I think he has actually been able to mention that. So the Colombian case was what actually be able to hit the market about the tariff is going to impose on China. Yet we've not really seen in blueprint, in black and white, how he intends to be able to deal with the Chinese players. But the Colombian case, what happened about the Colombian case over the weekend, sent a lot of shivers down the market, and the Asian market reacted to that maybe this week we'll see how he's going to be able to come up with his dealings with China. But it was at Davos last week as well, World Economic Forum, and where I think there was something I saw in the news that you read about the the vice president, making some promises.
Kasim
It's actually
Shettima,
that, Kazim Shettima, about entrenching democracy and the likes. But what I'm going to is, so there, there was a raft of policies he mentioned, especially dealing with China, dealing with Southeast Asia, and so the market reacted in that regard, okay, how is it going to be? People are still 1 week down the line. I think we're just about 1 week into Trump's presidency. And some of those raft of things that he has introduced, the market is reacting to them. And one of that strategy, one of those channel is what happened to the Asian stock that suffered a dip. That was yesterday, over the weekend. I'm calling it the Colombian effect. Because the way the market happens is, what can we call that? Is a trickling down effect. So one is like a trickle down effect. So one thing happened somewhere, and the whole market will be able to catch cold. So it spirals. Think of it like a domino effect of somewhat. So I think that was exactly how the market tend to be able to react to what happened to Colombia. But since the president of Colombia has said, okay, we are going to welcome the deported migrants, he asked the Department of Trade to waive the 25% tariff on them. And that kind of stabilized the market anyway. And I think the question we were asking is, to be able to impose, what is Colombia even importing to US? I mean, I was able to find that out. There are quite a lot actually exported
what
from
exactly
Colombia. So they export. So I think part of the thing they exported is agricultural products come from them. They also be able to import tin and iron ore come from Colombia into US. So those ones, we're looking at what is the essence of 20% tariff. You can imagine that. That's almost a quarter tariff on Colombian goods that are coming into the US. So I looked at that yesterday and I saw, there are quite substantial amount of goods that are exported from Colombia into US. And that's why, so I'm sure when the announcement of 25% came, the president of Colombia had no choice but to be able to recant his position and say, okay, we're going to be able to work on the migrants. And Trump waived the 25% tariff imposition that's being made on them. So market reacted, I'm sure it's the same way, touches across markets, even the North American market itself, the Dow Jones, S&P 500, the performance yesterday as a result of that, that little break bath between the two presidents, the Colombia and US, reacted,
United States,
United States and Colombia, touched down across the market, and it tends to be able to give them have the market to be able to have a lot of sell-offs anyway actually happened. People started selling all their stock, not knowing, because the way the market, I told you yesterday alone, and the deep seek, the emergence of that, the market tanked seriously yesterday, and then it triggered a lot of sell-off. People started selling off their stocks because people were really scared. By the time the market closed, only God knows what it has. If either alone has lost about $50 billion in one day. That is quite huge. And then market watchers, analysts, and experts were really, really worried. So maybe they were quite strategic as well, trying to be quite strategic to ensure that just 5 days, was on Thursday after the Davos meeting. On Thursday, he met with all the AI moguls in US. I'm talking about Trump. Met with them and tried to be able to say how government will be able to invest more money into what they do. Silicon Valley, what they do exactly. So they released DeepSeek yesterday. They call it DeepSeek AI. It's an AI chatbot. It's from China. They released it at a very, very paltry amount. Sam Altman said OpenAI cost them about $5 billion. But they were saying they did this DeepSeek for just $5 million.
Yeah, I did see that.
So you can you can see how cheap it is for them to launch that in the market. $1 million, OpenAI alone, with their hemorrhaging money, is about $5.6 billion. And that is still counting from Sam Altman. And so for China to be able to get this one done at such, it looks so ridiculous. People are looking at, did they really be able to doctor their books? Because it has never happened in that regard. It is really, really a game changer.
It is a game changer.
So I'm sure it affects the markets, and then try to be able to have that, that pass-through effect, like a pass-through effect.
It will. But you know what? Let's bring it back to Nigeria, where Sowore has rejected revised bail condition and insists on detention. Firstly, I must say that Sowore is a very strong man. He's a very different type of politician.
Very, very different kind of person.
Like the way he goes about his doings, like we say in Nigeria, is very interesting. But let me hear your thoughts.
Very, very erratic. Don't think it's erratic, because I'm sure when I heard of the news yesterday, he has what's it called? He has a bill, and then he rejected the bill that wanted to be. That is the element of, I don't know, we call it erratic or a kind of breaking away from the norm.
Exactly.
You know?
I wouldn't say erratic. I would say it's a break away from the norm. It's
I don't know, because,
unusual.
I mean, anyone,
unexpected.
no one, I don't know. I mean, anyone would have, wanted a situation where whatever will be able to take them away from, the prison, detention. At least people are always be able to demand for that, because the question was, his lawyer was the one actually able to request for the bail condition. I think so. For him to be able to reject it, it's still very much in line to be able to take the government down the wires. He was saying something in that regard. So why he wanted that to be the case, really, I still don't understand. Whatever goes on in that person, in his mind, as to what exactly he wanted to achieve with that. But as I said, what we heard was that his lawyers requested for the bail at the commencement of hearing yesterday. So there was a case of extortion that the police brought against him. That was a viral extortion. That was actually what the case was. This time around was actually not the case of the government. Okay, should we say it's the state against him, because the Nigerian police that brought the case. So there was a viral video of him, according to the report. According to the report, extorting money illegally from some people. And so the police arrested him on that ground.
So I think the police invited him, like what the news
Monday,
said. It's on the basis of allegations of cyber stalking, negligent act, and intimidation. But he has described it as a joke.
Okay.
That
so
it's going to remain under custody till the joke is over.
Okay.
So, but then again, I'm wondering. Yeah, I know it will blow over, because it's easy for me to say, because I'm going to say that. Okay. What if the joke is not over?
It's in court right now. Okay. Blowing over may go either way, right?
Yeah.
The case has been adjourned till next month. But normally the lawyer requested for, so he was invited yesterday to the Nigerian police over those allegations of cyber stalking, intimidation, and be able to mention the third one. I mean, those are 3 allegations that the police leveled against him. So, blowing over there, you will still be able to have his day in court. He had one yesterday. The police arrested him for questioning, and then was taken to court over that matter. And so his lawyer came to request for a bail condition. For him from the police, and then he said, okay, we would like to be able to remain in detention of the police until his case is actually filed in court. His case is filed in court, and I think today is actually the court case, according to what the police officer was actually in charge of that mentioned. So I'm sure we'll be able to watch the space and see how it will be able to pan out.
And see how that pans out. But let's quickly see what we have in spot then, before we move on to wrap up on the review. So Al Nassr is looking to sign Victor Boniface to their club, and I think it's very interesting. That'll be the first Nigerian
to play for Al Nassr.
Yeah, I think that should be the first Nigerian.
I think we have Ahmed Musa played in Saudi Arabia too.
Did he play for Al Nassr?
I'm not so sure yet.
Yeah,
I'm not so sure.
I'm not sure.
I'm not so sure, but Ahmed Musa played in Saudi Arabia. But remember, Al Nassr became a frontline club. A club in the eyes of everybody because of Cristiano Ronaldo.
Cristiano, and because even as of now, I wouldn't see. I still don't. It's basically Cristiano that's giving it this
the balls
giving it the eyeballs, just like you said. It's basically Cristiano's presence in the club, because and then even at that, I was still saying how many people are watching. Maybe in the Dubai League, they are
this Saudi Arabian League actually.
Saudi Arabian League, maybe in the Saudi Arabian League, they are gradually like making their mark, but like generally Al Nassr
it is
as a club, it's really
so
Cristiano.
So at the time, there are 4 major clubs that were bankrolled by the state in Saudi Arabia. So Al Nassr is one of them. We have Al Hilal, we have Al Ittihad, and there are 4 of them. And those 4 made, especially in the last 3 transfer windows, they've made a very remarkable impression on the market. Just like Ronaldo went there, Benzema went to Al Hilal. And then Al Ahly, that's what they call it, the 4 clubs. So Al Nassr, Al Ahly, Al Hilal, Al Nassr, Al Ittihad, and then Al Nassr. I think we have mentioned Al Nassr, Al Nassr, Al Hilal, Al Ali, and Al Ittihad, the four of them. So there is a Saudi Arabia sovereign investment fund, like a wealth fund, just like what you have NLNG here, our sovereign wealth fund. So these four clubs were bankrolled by them to be able to give them that attention in the world football, and they've garnered it because they made some very powerful signings. Just like Ronaldo went there, Neymar went to Al Hilal, Benzema went to Al Ittihad. They made some very, very big signing, and Al Ahly as well.
And these clubs have lots of money.
Oh my God, that's what I'm saying. They are state sponsored, state backed. So the government is actually able to bankroll them. And that Saudi, for example, is hosting the 2034 World Cup because of that.
2034. Oh, that's a long time.
So there's 2026, that's in US, Canada, Mexico. Then there'll be one in 2030. It's a 4-year event. So 2030 will be hosted by Morocco, Spain, and Portugal. But 2034 will be hosted by them alone. Saudi will bankroll. And by then, because from next World Cup, there will be 48 team tournament.
And then they have very great production because when I watch some of the things in boxing, boxing events,
the La Liga finals, always going on there.
Beautiful.
So they've been able to like bring in sport attention. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like people are really looking at them. Just be able to spin off from what we're talking about. That people really looking at them. They are getting those attractions and those attentions on the grand scale.
Let me just tell you
so the
something
boxing mention and some
I
other
saw
things.
something quite interesting when I was watching a boxing match.
Okay,
recently.
Recently.
Yeah, recently.
Tyson Fury,
like 2 weeks
maybe Tyson Fury and then
Tyson
Usyk. Okay.
Just one of those
Of course, Saudi League. That's why they used to fight them.
And do you know what?
They used to have them.
They did like a little game in the stadium, in the boxing stadium. And guess what the winner was going on with? It wasn't even a joke. I was like, is this a joke?
Is it real?
Please, can you take a guess?
Maybe a very luxurious car.
A Mercedes-Benz. It was,
2020.
and there was a the latest. And I'm like, what are the odds?
Odds of what? Somebody winning or losing?
Of
winning. That's just like they're just playing the game, remember? So I'm sure they've had that attention. Remember, it's the petrodollar, it's oil money. So it's really, really flowing in. And so we heard about, so they sold one of their players because just like as we're talking about, as they're buying players, so Anderson Talisca, I think, was sold yesterday. He's going to Besiktas in Turkey. So they have a space for a striker. And that is actually what I think linked them to Victor Boniface, who may actually be moving. So they inquired about
it's a good one for Victor, isn't it?
But maybe so, the argument has actually been there, leaving the bustling scene of Europe and then going to Saudi Arabia.
Exactly my point, because I think that someone like Cristiano had gotten to this peak.
Of course.
So at this point, it's like, oh, let me just go and cash out.
Of course,
and he already, like I said, it's gotten to speak. Everyone is still going to follow Ronaldo. They still want to know what's going on with his life. But someone like Victor is literally just starting. So even if it's about
just
the money,
3 years, man.
Yeah, even if it's about the money, it doesn't seem quite like.
We'll get the money. It's about the money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
like
the Boston scene of Europe.
The money, but it still has like a long career
ahead of him.
Exactly. So it could have stayed at that and stayed challenged, right?
In Bayer Leverkusen. He's in Germany at the moment.
Yeah.
He's in Germany at the moment. Yes.
But maybe it's a good one with maybe.
Nigerians sometimes when it comes to money, the money will always turn your head. Their money, I'm talking about Saudi money, will always turn heads.
It will turn heads.
I can tell you that.
Like, oh, money's not
so let me look at it that way. And then given the challenge at the moment, is he a regular starter in Bayer Leverkusen? I don't think so. I'm talking about Boniface.
Victor, yeah.
So it's not like a CV is their star player like that. So they have a Patrick Schick, a Czech Republic player, who is more or less like at the top. He's actually playing at that top front. Okay. So it's not like it's actually week in, week out, you tend to be able to see him. But he's still a very vital player, no doubt, to Xabi Alonso. Xabi Alonso is the coach of Bayer Leverkusen. He's still a very vital player to the team. Would they dispense of him? We heard that his value is about £50 million, 50 million euros. And I think the Saudi guys will be able to pay that.
I think this is a good time for the Victors because I think this Victor Osimhen is also leaving the club, isn't it?
No, he's in Turkey. That's all right. So this is Victor Osimhen, but this one is Victor Boniface.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying is Victor Osimhen not leaving the club.
He's left Napoli. There were a lot of issues over that during the last summer. That was in September. He's supposed to leave Napoli. So there was a tussle between an English club, Chelsea, that we thought we were going to go to there, and a club from Saudi Arabia, one of them, that is the Al Ahly, made a bid for him there. I think whether Nasser and Al Ahly, they wanted to be able to even give him the money, but eventually the deal hit the rock at that point in time. So
he went to Galatasaray
on loan, hopefully for just 1 year. That should be able to end by June. So by then, it should be able to have plethora of clubs, waiting to be able to get a signature. That is actually his own situation for now. But I don't think Victor Osimhen is not in the news to go to Saudi Arabia this January. But Victor Boniface, we heard about him at least. There's a space anyway. That's the question. But don't forget, apart from Ronaldo, Sadio Mane is also there.
Sadio Mane
is also
that.
he's also in Al Nassr. Aymeric Laporte is also there. Aymeric Laporte has left, okay. And we have some other notable players who have gone to Saudi Arabia. And there have been issues about it's a farmers league, it's just a retirement scene, just go to Saudi Arabia and go and collect some money. But some of them are still performing quite good in Europe anyway.
So what does it take for these footballers to negotiate good earnings? Because apparently Victor Boniface is one of the highest earners in the Bundesliga side, right? What does it? He is actually, because in the news that I read, he is.
Maybe in this club,
so what does it take to be one of the
highest
earners
in the team?
In teams, in the team.
In the league generally. Okay, because it takes a whole lot. One, remember, it gives you a leverage to be able to negotiate. If other clubs come for you, we need to trump that before you can at least be able to join them. So as a highest earning player in a particular team, it's expected that a new offer coming, especially when you are the one in need, when they are the one actually be able to chase the player, they always be able to. And that's why most times before clubs will negotiate with a club, like before club A negotiate with club B, they first of all like to have a personal agreement with the player. We call it personal agreement. So personal agreement will involve, years of contract, how much you will pay on a weekly basis. So sometimes when they have that deal sorted out, exactly, then they will now approach the club. Oh, we know this player still have 2 more year contract with a 3 more year contract. Can we buy out the contract? Exactly. Or what is its value? Can we pay that and then get this player? So normally the agreement level, the negotiation level in football is a 3-pronged approach. So the first is the player himself, you understand, a front of a personal agreement has to be agreed. Then you move to the club level, and then before the regulators that are involved will actually be able to allow the exchange of papers and exchange of contract for that to actually be able to move through. So it's what is actually we're still looking at that, but I should be able to mention this. It's still in the realm of rumors.
Is it in the rumors?
The report about him joining them.
I don't think it's a rumor anymore.
Okay.
Because it's a news that
this is what I've reportedly started negotiations.
It's still reportedly anyway.
So because what I'm saying there is one, Bayer Leverkusen is cruising through. Don't forget they're in Champions League, and then what gave that rumor a flash was because their main striker has left. I'm talking about Al Nassr. So they have a space. They have a space available to bring in another forward, and I'm sure
who's their main striker?
That's the guy that left, Anderson Talisca.
Okay,
that's his name.
That's going to
Fenerbahce. He has gone now. I think he has gone. So he finished. So he finalized his deal yesterday. Yeah. So that one has gone. So because they have that spot, you expected the rumor mills to be circling. The rumor hawks to be circling and saying, who are they going to go for? So the news broke yesterday. Boniface is actually in their focal point, and I'm sure they mentioned. Because when I said that was there are other strikers that have been mentioned. So I'm sure it could be in their focal view. Maybe they will discuss in house. Okay, these are strikers that are available. Which one of them should we bring in exactly? And then before they would then do the necessary, approach. Start with the negotiation with the player, the club, right. And then. But Bayer Leverkusen kept insisting it's not for sale. That's what. Because when the news broke, their sporting director yesterday mentioned, Victor Boniface is not available for sale. And it's still a very vital part of the team.
Oh, well, we'll keep an eye and keep looking to see how that pans out. But we're supposed to be wrapping up now. But let's quickly take a look at this one from the Manchester United club. Manager Ruben Amorim calling for improvement from the Red Devils. Currently, they are currently ranking to 12th position.
12th position in the league.
But on the league currently, who is
top
leading? Liverpool. Still Liverpool.
Of course, still.
Oh, wow.
Okay, you've been hearing about. Why do you say still Liverpool? As if like you've been hearing Liverpool.
Because I've been keeping an eye and I've seen that it's Liverpool and I'm
so they are still top of the league.
It's a good time to be a Liverpool fan. When I was growing up, I used to be a Liverpool fan.
Seriously? Whoa.
Yes, because of the old "You never walk alone." So I didn't know anything about football, but when
never walk alone.
Liverpool out there, you never walk.
So they're the one at the top. They're followed by Arsenal.
Yeah,
there's a 6-point gap. Yes, 6-point gap, and then one of the most surprising package of the season is in Nottingham Forest. That's third.
That's interesting.
As I say, I'm sure it's the third. Then we have Newcastle as fourth, the Man City and the Chelsea in that regard. But so Man U's performance has actually been, they've been blowing hot and cold this season. That's been their problem. And in fact, the man, people even felt like, because I think 2 weeks ago, he misyan because he said something that was totally off. I'm talking about their coach about Ruben Amorim about maybe this is the worst Man United team in history. Even though he came back on Thursday last week to correct himself.
How would you say that?
That kind of thing about his team. He's the coach of the team, and after they lost that game and he came, I'll give you a headline. I'm quoting him now. I was telling the journalists there after the post-match conference. Let me give you a headline. Maybe this is the worst Manchester United team. In
maybe
history.
we can also say he was doing that to trend because, like he said to the journalist, he said that to the journalist.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said it because normally after every game, as a coach, as a manager, you have to be able to address. They ask you questions. So I mean, maybe before just be able to open the floor, his intro was just maybe I'll just be giving you your intro before he started asking me. I felt like a defensive strategy to me anyway. I never saw it as maybe to trend, but maybe as a defensive strategy. Let me just give you headlines. So maybe this is the worst team. So the news was a wash. So by Thursday, I do feel like, would that not be dampening the spirit of the players? What are you trying to tell them?
So what did he come back?
I actually took him to recant himself and say, maybe he's a young coach. I'm a young coach. I can make mistake. Maybe I couldn't have been able to have mentioned what I said before their game on Thursday. That was last week Thursday. Before they play on Sunday. So he mentioned that 2 weeks ago. That's a game they have at Brighton, at home against Brighton. So Brighton beats them. They lost at home. So before their Thursday game, he has to come around and make some apology and some face-saving strategies. So before this other game against Fulham, so luckily they won. That was on Sunday. They won that game, but the performance was totally,
according to the report, scrappy. But make me understand something. So I know that Ruben Amorim is the manager, coach. And coach. But then we also have Pep.
No, that's Manchester City.
Manchester City. Okay.
So there are two teams. There are two major teams in Manchester. So the City of Manchester, two major. There are other teams there.
Manchester City and
Manchester United. So this is the case of Manchester United now. So you have the Manchester City. That is the Pep with his own name. So they are the blue. You hear them saying the blue side of Manchester. So there's like the blue side.
The blue side is which?
That's Manchester City.
Okay.
So then the red side, which is Manchester United. So they've actually been. So Manchester City is in 5th of the league, but this is Manchester United, just like you mentioned.
Because I know that Manchester City is also going through a tough time
now
because of especially also with the old divorce battle with
because people are feeling maybe that was actually the reason, but we saw him on Sunday. He was still wearing his ring, the white shirt.
But it doesn't matter.
We heard about, so the wife was still still in Barcelona in Spain, Madam Sarah, that's her name, and then was still with her ring on, and then people are still saying
people are taking a look at rings and
I know people the people can actually be able to. So at the time when the news broke, because we've not heard it directly from them, it was just the news that broke from the lawyers who said they filed for divorce, they want to go their ways.
Then all of what I saw on social media, like all of his mansion, his biggest mansion.
Maybe that will likely go to. I think they're going to divide. The usual alimony thing in the UK.
But this one was like most of his property, and I now understood why Cristiano till now hasn't officially married Georgina, despite everything. Even yesterday was her birthday. He literally was wishing her, my wife, and I was angry. I was like, your wife.
And you have not got married. You have not put a ring.
But again, I'm like, maybe this is his own approach. Like, I'm just going to give you everything.
Perhaps.
Because she glows as a woman. She's happy. But I'm not going to put that ring on. I'm not going to, because I don't
want to lose out of my property.
Maybe
he has debunked because there have been those claims. In fact, before you join Saudi Arabia, because the rule there is you're expected to get married if you're staying together as couples. So there were those issues that he tried to be able to formalize certain arrangements.
What did he say?
No, he was saying it was never intended. Yes, he was actually saying this is his wife.
I beg,
and then maybe the marriage, there were reports that there was a secret marriage somewhere. Maybe before you actually joined Saudi Arabia.
She has about 8 children or so.
Yes, exactly. She's catering for.
They have lots of children. In Nigeria, every time anyway, we can't compare. Every time in Nigeria, we're always advocating.
So but she gave birth to 2, and then 4. And then there are like 2 other kids from
'Cause it's a
other
lot of
ladies that
children.
she's not taking care of them, and that's exactly how she
exactly
has actually
my
taken
point.
care, and she never, discriminate between them under any
Yeah.
guise. She's actually been quiet because if you see, I'm sure you talked about the wedding, the birthday yesterday. You can see how glowing it was. She spoke
looking
glowingly,
really good.
and he was speaking glowingly
And
of
she's
her.
also looking
How
really
he has
good.
actually been a pillar of strength for him, and
She will
for his
definitely be a
kids,
pillar of strength. Not with
and
all
both
that
of them.
money. If she's not a pillar of strength, I don't know.
Okay, but just like you said,
I
they're
don't
pillar
know
of
what she
strength.
will
What
be.
happened to Manchester City? I mean, other ones are still going out and firing
According to
themselves.
those, no, but the news for them.
Because you're using the money.
The news for
the
Pep
money?
is she said, and the Sarah said that he was taking too much time at the club.
And they don't have time for.
That's our own
excuse.
excuse. But it's all about finding a balance. You have to. It's not easy, but like one of my mentors says, she says that you can't acquire a balance at all times.
Of course,
but what you can do is find a balance at different points. So at this point in time, this is family time.
And ensure you give them what is needed.
At this point in time, this one will suffer. But
at that time, let this one suffer too. Let that one.
So it shouldn't be that
balance
this one is always suffering.
Every now and then.
At every point in time, everything will never be balanced. So that's what they need to know, because I know that Arsenal, that's one thing. What's it
Manchester
called? Not even Arsenal. I was trying to talk about Jose Mourinho. That's one thing he's always telling his players, that it's I remember whenever I'm watching, he's always telling them family is important. I don't know if it's truly practicing, but he's always telling them family. You know how we talk.
Of course,
family is important.
You
need to go to your family. Go home. You tell his players, go home. But it's about finding a balance at different points in time. But that's how we will bring it to a close today. It's always really lovely speaking on the top stories with you, and also the sporting side as well. It's really truly interesting. Thank you so much. And that's how we bring it to a wrap today on the top story analysis here on the BDTV Breakfast Show. Stay with us as we'll be back for the front pages in a bit.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa.
when you think about the word supplements, it tells you that you're trying to make up something that
Right.
not there.
Right.
But if you're a normal human being, you don't have any what we call malabsorption syndromes, like your body can absorb the food that you eat. You actually don't need them.
Right.
So every nutrient that you require can be consumed in the food that you eat.
Right.
You find out that a lot of those people that are on so-called low-carb diets tend to constantly have low energy. You're not able, so your brain actually needs glucose to function.
Yes.
So you sort of operate below your potential because you're constantly hungry. However, it depends on your level of physical activity. For example, if I'm a laborer or I'm a farmer, I work on the farm, obviously I'm going to need more carbohydrates because I'm expending more energy. But if you're someone like most of us that have desk jobs, you get into the office at 8 in the morning, you sit till 5.
Yeah, exactly.
You're really sedentary. Where we recommend supplements typically are, for example, if an individual has what we call a malabsorption syndrome, like your body can absorb the food that you eat.
Right.
Or say pregnant women, your requirements are a lot more because of the baby. We put them on supplements to make up for the deficiency. But for a normal human being, every single nutrient that you require can be consumed in food.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's
so
good to know.
save your money.
Thank you, Dr. Blossom, for that.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
So I'm Sam Abu. I'm the country senior partner for PwC Nigeria and the regional senior partner for PwC West Market, which is West Africa.
The event has just been wrapped up and it was really, really insightful. I want to know, aside from like my own personal experience, what was the reason why this roundtable was so important to hold?
This forum, these kind of sessions provide us an opportunity to have very important conversations about the direction of the country. There are a number of business leaders in the room today, as you saw. And the one thing that business leaders are contending with is how to navigate the complexities of operating in the kind of global economic environment that we are into. So these conversations or these sessions enable us to share perspectives and insights and information about how the strategies to deploy in running our businesses. But I think it's also very important in shaping the conversations we need to have in this country about the direction of travel of the country. Because we are all, whether business leaders or individuals, we're all stakeholders in this country.
Yes.
So having this opportunity to have conversations and discussions about our economy, about the budget, about government reforms and policies is a critical part of the job that we have to do as business leaders, as individuals in this country. So this is, I would say that is the primary motivation for doing something like this. But I think it's of immense value to everybody who attends it.
Thank you so much. I also want to know, what is your major takeaway from this event?
If I was to say the one thing that I took away was optimism. You know, I mean, we kind of came in there today. Everybody had a slightly pessimistic view of where 2025, what 2025 would mean for businesses, especially given where we're coming from in 2024. Think about the macroeconomic challenges that we've had to deal with in 2024 in Nigeria and even across the world: inflation, currency volatility, you just name it. But the overwhelming sentiment today was positivity. Like, I think it can't get any worse than it was last year, you see? So inflation The outlook is that inflation is going to come down, going to trend down. There's going to be some stability in exchange rates. There's even a suggestion that exchange rate might come down. God, amen to that, right?
Amen. Yeah.
So yeah, I would say the overwhelming sentiment is 2025 will be a better year than 2024, and we'll begin to see an upward trajectory in all our metrics, economic metrics. Of course, the road ahead is still rough. 2024 was that it is a better year doesn't mean it is perfect or it is good.
Yeah.
It is just that we're coming from a very low base when you talk about inflation or currency volatility. So the fact that we're going up, we're trending up, is reason to be hopeful and reason to be optimistic about the future of business in Nigeria.
Thank you so much, sir, for sitting with us and granting us this interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
So I would like to get what your key takeaways from this event. I believe that you were not just a panelist, but you were also a member of the audience.
Yeah, the key takeaway for me will be that there was the consistency and consensus that the reforms were the right reforms, and that the direction of travel is going to take us to the Nigeria that we want. It's also one of the takeaways also that the outlook for 2025 is much better than 2024 was. And this is not just because we're being optimistic. It is based on what the data is saying around inflation expectations and the factors that were stoking inflation in 2024, which are no longer there in 2025. In addition to the base effect that, it can be worse than it was before. Yeah. And then you have expectation around interest rates, because as inflation begins to moderate, the monetary authorities will have the reason to cut interest rates. And also even additionally, we have the credit concession scheme for the businesses. All of these altogether mean that we should have the opportunity to celebrate or begin to celebrate in 2025 that the sacrifices that we made as a people is beginning to yield results. And for people generally, it's to not just all be negative about the economy, because that way you may miss out on the opportunities, which I think are abound across all sectors.
Okay, so based on the panel that you just had, I heard that you spoke a lot about data, and from what we're just discussing right now, you seem to be a very big believer of data. So what are the opportunities that people should look forward to investing into in 2025 if they want to thrive in their businesses?
I think it cuts across all sectors, because whether you're talking about manufacturing or industry generally, whether you're talking about services, including financial services, telecommunication, whether you're talking about energy sector, we have a lot of focus around energy in particular, from renewable to additional investments, including the policy decentralizing electricity regulation, which means that the state can now decide, to generate and put whatever excess into the grid. So those reforms are also going to provide opportunities across the board. Even the tariff increase on telecommunication, why nobody is happy that tariffs are going up, the issue is that will help them to improve quality, and quality of service will feed into the economy by way of better productivity, which will overcompensate for the additional tariff and that we're having to bear. And so I do think that depending on the sector you operate, just look out for the opportunities and you will find.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. It was really lovely sitting with you. I want to know, is there any other thing you would like to add? Maybe a question that you felt was not answered properly in the hall, or you would like to say anything here?
No, I think it's just to encourage everyone to play their part and engage with the government constructively. And that's the way to solve the problems. Complaints don't solve problems. Ideas and solutions are the ways to solve problems.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for sitting with us.
My name is Dr. Gabriel Ubechi. I'm the Group Managing Director of Rain Oil Limited.
You spoke really well in your panel, and you did really amazing with the questions that were thrown at you also. But we still have more questions, and we just want to know, what is your outlook for this year in the light of the new policies that has been brought out in 2025?
2025 remains a very optimistic year. I think our worst days are behind us. 2024, 2020.
You are watching Business Day Television.
Welcome back to the BDTV Breakfast Show. Now you are on to the newspaper review of the front pages of our papers today on the show, and we'll be starting off with the Punch newspaper. Very interesting spread here on the Punch newspaper, but the big story here says Afenifere can others push for Sharia in Southwest. Oppose.
Oppose
I was a little bit scared when I saw
oppose push.
I was a little bit scared when I saw when I read push, but I'm like, how is Khan pushing for Sharia? But then thank you so much for that. Oppose push. Great. So what does that mean? I know you probably have a lot to say about this, because you're also a cleric and all of that. So regional focus should be on debt, not religion, says Yoruba group. Muslims and Christians differ.
Yeah, I think the back and forth has happened since late last year. I think it was the case of Oyo that we heard, where the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs, Oyo chapter, said there's an inauguration of the Sharia Council in Oyo town before the governor asked them to be able to put a stop to that. So the issue between the issue in the Southwest, the 6 Southwest states, Lagos, Ogun, Oyo, Osun, Ekiti, and Ondo, is the fact that the Muslims actually be able to demand for the setting up of Sharia councils to be able to adjudicate on matters affecting Muslims in the land. Though the governors and traditional rulers feel like the existing court system should be enough to be able to address those issues. Now, they were coming with the fact that, I'm talking about from the Muslim angle, they're coming with the fact that Sharia law is actually provided for under the 1999 Constitution. And so setting up a Sharia court is just like a Sharia court in the Sharia law.
You mean who?
That's the Muslims,
Okay.
the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs,
Okay.
led by their spokesperson here. They have one of the spokesperson, Dr. Ahmed Bakari, the one of Ekiti State, and then the one of Rafiu Bello, which is the one of Oyo Land, who is the chairman of Sharia Committee. So the setting up was supposed to take place on January 11 in Oyo State to start with. It was to be bet with Oyo State, and then it touches down in 18 should be Ekiti State, and then go around Southwest State for a start. But because of the oppositions from Afenifere group, the Yoruba group, the Khan in the Southwest, seeing it as another way of actually be able to Islamize them. I mean that's actually been the ground they are coming out from, and the fact that the existing court system is enough to be able to cater for the needs of the people.
Yes, it is.
So, but they were actually saying it's actually set up to be able to address issues of worship, issues of religious, Islamic marriages, issues that actually be able to be two Muslims that be able to take themselves to the court. So I think that has actually been the pushback from the Christians and the Afenifere.
What are your own? What are your own
so the question here, that's saying first is that the 1999 Constitution made provisions for Sharia Court of Appeal and the Sharia court to be at the same level at the magistrate court and customary court.
The 1999
is provided.
Constitution.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, and that's why you can have the penal code in the north. Because you can say that this is actually a Southwest debate, not so the Constitution provided for that, and it was on that ground that they're trying to be able to set up that court. So I think maybe the idea there should have been is a court system to be able to adjudicate over matters that should be able to affect the Muslims within the Southwest region. That was actually what informed that.
So who is pushing for it though?
Okay, so there is a Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs, like just like you have Khan as for the body for Christians.
Okay.
So the body recognized by the federal government for Muslims.
Okay.
It's called the NSCIA.
That's full meaning.
Nigerian National Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs.
Okay, NSCIA.
Okay. NSCIA. That's actually just like a body.
Okay.
Has Muslims. It's just like a body that actually, or the umbrella body that puts all the Muslims together in Nigeria. You understand? Just like we have Khan, Nigeria. So this is Khan Southwest that's pushing for this, and Afenifere in the Southwest.
Okay.
So you have the NSCIA Southwest. They are the ones making the move to set up the Sharia court across 6 southwestern states to be able to address some of those issues. So there are pockets of them in some place. There's one here in Lagos, around there in Lekki, Akim Dixon Road, to be able to attend. So I think they attend to matters like land disputes, marriage, disputes between people. Most times Muslims take themselves there. And then people have, what they've not been able to give them as right is to be able to, I think the law yet has not been able to give them the power to commission marriages, you understand? But people still go there and have their marriage. There is one in 1004 in Lagos. So maybe what they're not trying to do is to be able to give it because it's just what is set up by under the NSCIA. And so the lawyers from them, Ahmed Bakari I mentioned is a lawyer who was actually the one that's actually be able to set up the document and then put them, submit them to the Supreme Court to ensure that they give the Sharia court a leg in the Southwest. So that has actually been the back and forth. Remember, this I started in January 1. So your state's supposed to be able to start fully, but the governor has them to be able to push a hold on it on the 11th of January. That's when inauguration is supposed to take place. And then they agree that they are going to go to court, take the government to court, and the case is also in court, where the court will be able to give the final judgment over that. So a case is supposed to follow, I was on the 18th, and that one too could not hold because so it will be like a contempt of the court. So allow the court to be able to follow through, give the judgment. I think it will be next month to take the case, put a hold on that, and then see how that will be able to pan out in the days ahead. I think that is actually the current status of what is happening right now. And as I can hear the banner headline there, they were saying the debt level. There was some other argument they are coming up that the government should actually be concerned more about settling some of their financial obligations, and not religion should not be at the. But I don't think you can be able to tell people what they should be able to focus on at any point in time, So do you bad group then?
Especially if you have mentioned that it's actually there's provision for it in the Constitution. So if it's in the Constitution,
so how the body would that be able to come up is what maybe inauguration of they give it a name. I think it is called the Sharia Council, an arbitration panel. That's what they call it, Sharia Council arbitration panel, to be able to adjudicate and sit on matters relating to Muslims. But Khan and Afenifere are opposing it, believing that it's contrary to the existing provisions of state laws in those states. And then, but I'm sure the court, just like I said, the case is in court, and then they've been back and forth about it. They too are insisted they're going to go ahead with inauguration, but Afenifere said no. We'll wait for the court to be able to put the final.
So let's see what the court
would actually decide on at the end of the day.
Make a decision on. But let's see some of the other stories here on the front page. On the top left-hand side, PDP crisis, it says uncertainty as NWC members shun Southeast meeting, and it continues on page 2. Now, page 3 says MDA spent 16 billion naira on Esther Code compensations in 2 years. 16 billion naira on Esther Code, that's a whole lot. And this is from budget. Lagos Assembly plans to probe Obasa for fraud. We're still on this Obasa case. I hope that in the first quarter we'll be done with it. Now, this one says NATI EFCC collaborate to recover $6 billion. 66 billion naira.
Code proceeds.
When I see all these numbers flying, I'm like, so all of this money is circulating within our society. Where am I?
They're not circulating in society. Remember?
Why am I not seeing within some? Now this one says Farotimi Afenifere Obi hail Afe Babalola for withdrawing defamation suit. And then on page 5, gospel singer, I'm sure you've been following up with this story, pleads not guilty to killing a copper. Meanwhile, this same man had a video circulating online where he was boldly saying it. You probably have seen this video where he boldly said that he never regretted. Okay, he never regretted. So
he mentioned that in court yesterday.
How come?
That's what I'm saying.
How come he's pleading not guilty?
That's what I'm saying. He's still pleading not guilty what he did. Today he entered his defense yesterday. The what's his name again? This gospel singer Timileya Ajayi, I think that's his name. So he pled not guilty yesterday.
But how is he pleading not guilty?
Of course, it's his right. So the court is Okay, so he said he never regretted his actions.
Okay.
That was what you know, and that was the video. He never regretted what he did, and he still mentioned that in court yesterday.
He still mentioned.
Yes.
Okay.
So
how then? On what
okay.
grounds?
So the case yesterday is to enter your defense. It's more or less like saying, are you guilty of charges leveled against you or not before the official trial will begin. Trial is to begin in February 11. You know, that's what the court, his lawyers to say. So the prosecution and defense counsel were there yesterday, and when the judge shoot the question at him, that okay, this is the charge sheet against you. Are you guilty or not? And what he said is he's not guilty. So and that's what I'm saying. So the trial will now begin. The trial is now to begin the trial with his lawyers.
Okay.
By 11th of February. You understand? So the purpose of that yesterday is just to, if you have said I'm guilty yesterday, maybe the government, the court would have actually be able to go on with their judgment. So we remember very well. So they filed the charges to him. I mean, the actions that he committed, the deed that he committed, the killing of his girlfriend, by the name. So Justice Simon Aboki yesterday was actually the one in Lafayette on that court, asked him the question, are you guilty or not? And he said, no, I'm not guilty. You know, okay. So meaning that you need to, that the case will go to trial. That's the meaning. So go to trial is now for you to now come and tell us why.
Why you're not
so
guilty.
That was now, I was not listening to that. So the court adjourned the case, I think to March, 17th to 20th of March. It's in that period is where the trial will now begin. So that was when he's going to tell us why he's actually pleading not guilty. No, he's in detention. Yes, he's in detention.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
so let's
there was
see
no
how
bail.
that goes.
There was no bail. It's not like I see they allow him to be roaming free.
That's what I wanted
so
to know.
he's still in detention, but he has said he's not guilty. So you need to now come out and tell us why are you not guilty. I think it's on him to come and tell us. Okay.
Question.
Okay. Ajayi, I think his name is. I guess so.
I feel like he has a mental issue.
I'm looking at that too. The appearance wise
and video of him speaking. It seems like when you have a deep mental issue that
you don't feel like anything should. Of course.
You've literally
just
are
lost it.
Out of touch with reality. That's how it seemed. It seemed unfazed, like someone.
What happened and has happened exactly.
Yes, what has happened? It's just weird.
No, I can agree. I can't agree any less with you. The element of mental strain happening to him, you can't be able to.
It's a bit weird.
Because the way, if you see him, you see it's just like I said, unfazed and unwavering in his approach. I think that whatever happened, you understand.
He doesn't seem scared. It doesn't seem. Neither does it seem like. It just seems like detached in a way. But let's see how this entire thing comes.
So I think you mentioned about PDP crisis. That has actually been brewing seriously too. I think we read about that maybe 2 weeks ago when they're supposed to be able to have a National Executive Council meeting. So there are two secretaries. You know, the crisis has been following them before 2023 election. I'm sure you know all of that. Atiku, Wike, there have been those issues. Yochayu, the then chairman that brought about the acting chairman that they have now. Then when we had Imo election, the national secretary of the party, the person of Samuel Iwanyawu, I think Samuel Iwanyawu, that's his name, if I'm not mistaken. Samuel Iwanyawu is actually his name. So he came up, Samuel Iwanyawu, exactly. So he went to contest for governorship election in Imo State, and but still insisting that he's still the national secretary of the party. Okay. So while he went for that in Enugu, the Southeast appointed a man called Ali Odefa to be the national secretary. So the two of them has been a tussle, who is a recognized national secretary of the party. So some people are supporting Samuel Iwanyawu, just like they always be two factions to it, while some are supporting Ali Odefa. So Odefa the Vice Ali Odefa appointed Udi Okoye. Sorry about that. That is actually the person appointed in Enugu. And then he was able to get validation from appeal court in Enugu. He got that. But last week, as well, 2 weeks ago, Samuel Iwanyawu went to another appeal court of appeal in Abuja, who said that status quo should remain and he should be the national secretary. So I think, there have been those battles between Udi Okoye and Samuel Iwanyawu. So the acting national chairman just yesterday said that there will be a national meeting today in Enugu to be able to attend to that issue between the acting national chairman. His name is Umar Damagum. He's the acting national chairman who sent messages yesterday to sent messages to journalists and journalists and people to be able to come to Enugu and then attend the event. But the National Publicity Secretary, and that's exactly what caused that, Debo Ologun Agba, said he's not aware of that. He's not aware, and that's National Publicity Secretary of the party. So the national chairman said there will be a national convention today to address this this fracas between the two of them.
Yeah.
But the man was actually saying, and then the national vice chairman, Ali Odeifa, for Southeast, also said they are not aware of any meeting whatsoever that's going to take place today. So I think that's further the challenge more. That's what you can see. So most of the NWC members are shortly the Southeast meeting that's supposed to take place today. Also, how it is, but if they keep going on like this, so what give it a strength yesterday was when the presidential candidate of the party now came out and said the ruling party is trying to kill democracy in Nigeria. How? He said he gave 50 million naira or something to suppositions to be able to kill them off, according to him. And then the way this is actually happening, you know, the internal wrangles, I'm sure you heard about that of the Labour Party, that one is going on. The Abia State governor is trying to be able to set up an inauguration committee led by Nadi Usman. Julius Abue went to court, and luckily I think he won in court. There's a division, serious division in the party. NNPP too kept coming up with their own challenge. I'm talking about Kwakwanso in his own party and now PDP. So
what
this today,
was the way forward?
Because that's so the crisis never appears ending so soon. They just keep festering the more. So if the national chairman, remember, acting national chairman, said there is a meeting today, and in fact sent messages to journalists, exactly, stakeholders and other party members. And when journalists were actually asking the National Publicity Secretary and the National Vice Chairman of the Southeast, and what they were saying is they were not aware. You can be able to imagine the rift that, and that's true. How will a National Publicity Secretary, how will a meeting be holding? It's the Publicity Secretary that's supposed to even be the one to go out and inform the public, right? That there will be something like that. So I think that dimension is still shaping out, you know, how that will actually look like in the southeast.
Okay, well,
so
let's look at page 33, and the front page has this one up there. It says MDA spent 16 billion naira on Ester Code compensations. Ester Code and compensations in 2 years, and this is according to budget. You probably want to react to this story.
Oh yes. I have not been able to go through it. There have actually been complaints. There have been issues about, you know, ministries, departments, and agencies of government, you know, spending money on foreign travels. You know, even though for Ester Codes, you know, issues about compensations that they hold out there. I think there have actually been those issues and those back and forth, you understand? So I think budget in their own analysis did this recent report looking at the last two budgets, 2023 and 2024. And that made them to be able to come up with these allegations, you know, that they found out that what most of all these agencies of government, how much they actually be able to spend on Ester Code and compensations in the last 2 years. And some of them, they've picked holes, right, really. I think there was one of them they actually be able to mention. They pick holes in what the MDAs and what some of the ministries were actually spending the money on. How it is not fully budgeted for, right? And then how some of them actually be able to use the money to fleece maybe the government, and then use it to be able to settle some other personal issues that they spend it on. The ministries, the agencies, and department of government have actually been called into account, you know, over that on several grounds. And I think it builds on the ministry, because when they released those reports about the performance of the 2024 budget, you know, that was what they released, and then in the last 2 years, as well as the 2023 budget, is calling into account some of, you know, government ministries, departments, and some of their agencies as to how they have been able to allocate, you know, apportion the money allocated to them.
So what are these compensations?
And that's exactly. I think
not
they mentioned.
really followed up on
I've not really followed up on these really.
It'd be
But
nice
I'm sure it's
to know what
actually
this
there. because they put that in those reports. I'm sure when we'll be able to look at it.
Yeah, and
I saw the report, but I've not been able to
anyone
read it
wants
in details.
to find out more on that, they can catch the page 33 of the Punch newspaper.
get
But let's
it.
talk about this one
Basalt,
on page
is it?
23.
Okay.
No, Dangote refinery to receive 12 million barrels
of US crude.
US crude,
Yes,
and
in
this
the
is
next,
according to
this
a
report.
Mm.
The report. So it's still telling us something here. I think the report was actually done by the energy, the IEA, International Energy Agency, about the likely the amount of crude oil that major refiners will be able to receive. And for what concerns Nigeria, a portion of it has actually come into Dangote. So it was yesterday the news broke, and it is not unconnected to Donald Trump. Remember, one of the things he mentioned as inauguration was about we are going to be able to drill, baby drill. I'm sure it's a very big word. Like, we keep drilling and drilling oil. Donald Trump mentioned that, and so we expected the next 2 months we're going to be able to see a large number of a large exploration of oil that will be able to come from US. And so one of the agreements, remember, Dangote actually signed is allowed to be able to prospect his oil apart from not only from Nigeria, get others as well from the US. And then about 12 million barrels of those will likely be able to come to him this year. That's actually the target they will likely receive. And of those 12 million barrels will likely 12 of the number of oil is going to get this year, the quantum of oil is going to get this year, 12 million will likely be able to come from that. So it is just the revised report that was done as a result of Trump's slant towards more oil production, more crude oil production, and how countries and how major refiners in the world are actually responding to that. So I think we're seeing very much of that, and Dangote too, with their vice chairman, the vice chairman there of Dangote Refinery, confirmed the amount they're going to receive and some of the forward contracts that they've signed with major American drillers to ensure that they can be able to get some of these things from them.
So let's take a look at the Vanguard newspaper this morning. The Vanguard newspaper, the big story in the Vanguard newspaper says, how price of rice rose from 2,500 naira in 2000 to 105,000 in 2024. That's literally a 24. Is that it? No, what am I saying?
24 years.
No, it's not a 24 year.
Is it percentage? A 24-year period?
Yeah, that's a 24-year period.
That is
so
more than
how many percent? How many percent increase is this?
This is
from
about
1,200%
increase. 1,000 plus percent.
1,000 plus.
Okay, 2,005 to 5,000. That is 100%. Okay, I think that's a 50% increase. Sorry.
Because I'm like 1,000 plus, but even at that, 50%.
850.
850% is a lot. It's a lot. That's
quite a whole lot.
More than half.
Of course.
That's quite a lot because I remember 2000. I was already very old enough, and
back
I can't imagine. Yes, because 2.5 was even looking like a lot. So how do we 2.5 now really can't even buy you a meal?
Exactly.
Can you believe it that 2.5 can't even buy you a meal? When I was younger, when my parents are talking about, back in the days we used to use 15 naira to buy this and this and this to buy provisions, I used to be like, what are these?
What are you talking about?
But I can't believe
that Nigeria ever existed?
Yes.
Like, has that ever
one kobo? We used to use 1 kobo to buy. We used to use
collect
1
change.
coin.
1 naira to buy
1 naira. Yes, remember now coins don't even exist. Do you know the annoying part? Some naira notes are really useless.
That's something that's
10 naira is useless.
15
what are you really buying? 5 naira.
20 naira, 5 naira, 20 naira.
Back in the day, for beggars, you give them like 20 naira. All of those things.
Gladly collected from you.
Literally now, so they will even swear for
you. But the question is,
don't you have another?
When was the last time I've even seen 20 naira?
Can you remember? Even see it. I managed to see 15 naira the other day, but 15 naira, so what is it buy? Even those biscuits, back in the days, you can spend 15 naira and buy like 5 biscuits,
of course.
like 10 naira.
10 naira, 5 buy.
And this, when I'm saying back in the day, it wasn't too long ago. Like, you can buy 10 naira biscuit.
Of course.
But these days now, the least biscuit you're getting maybe 100 naira. It's crazy. So it's not even about just bag of rice.
Of course, they did.
The quality of the rice.
That's
another conversation, because the conversation about it, that some of the rice we're eating is rubber.
Okay.
I don't know how true that is. They say some of the rice, they even say some of this imported rice that we're eating
as rubber, okay, made from rubber,
are not actually imported,
okay,
because we can't even afford, quote, the actual imported ones. So they are saying that the bag of rice that we're even eating is Nigerian rice. But because Nigerians, because Nigerian rice is not good, so people will not buy. And sometimes I feel like it's true, because there are times that I get gift of a bag of rice and I
sieve it and
cook
check
it. The grains don't feel like
it used to be.
They don't feel like the real rice.
Okay.
I don't want to call brands. They don't feel like those brands. And I started believing that theory that's been going around, that some of these rices are packed here. Not saying that our rice is not, but let's just know. Do you understand? Let's just know what exactly it is we're eating. If I'm eating the locally grown rice, let me know. And the reason why some of us don't like, some people don't like the locally grown rice, is the way some of them is, some they're really starchy. Okay. Do you get? Some are really starchy. So it's for us to.
How about stony?
No, so yeah,
so basically, some people actually use that as an excuse as well.
It's for us to work on our own produce and be able to buy our own, the ones that are
producing locally
here. But it's to work on it, because it's not a case of people. There are people that just like buying foreign. They just like the tag of, oh, I'm buying a foreign. But there's some people that it's really about the quality. I don't mind. These days, like, our fashion industry has completely revamped. Now these days, people are wearing Nigerian-owned design. That's a story for another day, because Nigerian-owned design, they will show you one dress, Abike dress, and they will tell you 775,000 naira, because they've said even Abike self cannot buy the dress. They just give it one sweet Abike.
Abike, that was stylish. One style.
The Ungozi embellished gown. Ungozi embellished gown, they'll call it 1 million. You can't even buy it. But let's go back to this rice. It's about actually putting, so we can even eat our own produce.
So you can see, I'm sure if you look at the riders to them, you see, from pyramids, because you see the pyramids at the time during Barry's time, to paddy, you know, then to importation. These are strands, these are journeys that we have gone through.
Go on to say Miller's identified policy somersault,
maybe affecting
insecurity,
naira
devaluation as limiting factors, inflation also driving up cost of paddy. For farmers canvas regional approach to production.
Maybe that's the solution they are looking at. Because first, I mean, it is mind-boggling, you know, to say that this same bag of rice of the same 50 kg was, inflation is a global phenomenon. It happens everywhere. When I say inflation is the same, no one is actually saying what you're buying for 2,500, right? In 2000 should actually still remain at the same.
Well,
but if you look at
it shouldn't.
No, okay. So maybe the dynamics of what I'm saying here is two things. The people that are producing as well need some encouragement. There are some incentives for them. So the one way to be able to get incentive is like saying minimum wage should retain if you look at that as a 2000, minimum wage is 8,750. Do you think I remain like that till now? I'm just saying.
It can't.
Of course, it can't.
So,
okay.
but
so why?
We're just
we say because cost of production has increased and they're going to be able to ask for that. So what I'm saying here is generally inflation, certain level of inflation is actually needed for the economy, for the economy to encourage, to be like an incentive to producers and to lubricate the whole of the economy. So it's actually needed. But if you look at that increase, that mind-boggling increase, percentage increase, it is really, really out of this world, and is likely going to be able to send people on a downward spiral. So we know very well. I mean, because in fact, it was because it's even be able to the price went down a little bit as of November, especially when that flood happened in Borno, and some other issues when post-season harvest started coming. We hear of cases where they were selling a bag of rice for like 130 and the likes, but I think the price eventually normalized to around 5,000. So despite all those policies, there's still a lot of underlying factors I explained back, because just like you mentioned about the paddy is just those the paddies that we grow. Nigerian government talk about those policies from ABP, Anchor Borrowers Program. Do you know how much money government invested in that? You understand? Targeted amount. That was when Buhari shut the border towards rice importation. So, because I know you mentioned something about, so okay, sorry, before I get there. So he shut the border to ensure that, because the amount of rice we have here that we can grow and that we can be able to feed us is enough. To be able to move away from how much we actually spend on importation. So the government spent so much money. There's serious investment in the ABP. And before it was suspended by, it's through the CBN, you know, at the time, and people were even accusing, why would the CBN be in charge of agriculture? Why the Ministry of Agriculture? Why would the CBN be the one giving loans, you know, directly to farmers? Why not directly from maybe Bank of Agriculture or even though they do it through them? But down the line, ABP started in 2015. And that was the idea. 10 years now down the line. And it does not be able to achieve that. In fact, people diverted. ABP is Anchor Borrowers Program. Okay. So it's a CBN funding program given to farmers, you know, targeted majorly about rice. Is to target rice production. And I said that was the time when the borders were shut. You know, the government shut the borders at that point in time. So by 2015, when that was given, 2016, borders were shut to ensure the amount of rice the farmers can grow locally is enough, you understand, to be able to meet our local demand. But as you said, rice is a staple food. Nigerians cannot do without it. And that's why it's often used as, you know, it's a yardstick that people always be able to talk about. So those policies, well, that is just one. There are several other ones, several pocket of policies that have failed to be able to make this rice abundantly available. Even though people themselves have actually not been able to do good. Some people are deliberately hoarding it. You know,
hoarding rice.
Yes, I've told you about someone saying he hoarded
the Nigerian made rice or the
maybe. So I think he said he was actually waiting for the price to go to 165,000 to sell. He report on that. Yes, that was last year, not this year anyway. I'm talking about around that November, December time. Somebody said, "Look I have a stockpile of rice here, but I'm not going to sell until." Are they trying to be able to speculate on the price? So people are just. So
what do you make of hoarding as a, what do you call it? Is it an economical
sabotage?
No.
Okay.
As an economical, maybe like one of the
economic strategies to
yes, yeah, thank you. What do you think about,
you know, is that a legal thing to do?
I want to talk about dollars. Like there are many times that people will be like they're keeping this
dollars and waiting
because they're waiting for it to
naira
go up.
Okay.
Yeah, for the
market price to go up and
market price to go up, and they're keeping this. And I'm the kind of person that sometimes when I have like one or two, I just feel like I need to.
Why do you want to do that, right? Why are you doing that?
No, so I would just go and change that. People will be like, why would you change? You should always keep it and let it go up. What do you think about hoarding as an economic strategy? So that's like when it comes to foreign currency.
Okay.
Foreign.
So the challenge there
is it okay?
No. It's now the law criminalized that.
Okay.
It's a criminal offense.
What's the criminal offense?
Okay, of hoarding the dollars and spec. So what people will do is, so now a dollar is, let's say, 1,000.
Okay.
And somebody would just say, we wanted to wait until it goes to 2,000 naira.
Yeah.
And then trade. Maybe to trade his own.
Okay.
You know, so you know that is making an additional 1,000 naira gain.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. But
so it's wrong?
Yeah, criminally it's wrong. It's an offense, really? Yes. Because what they will be doing is called speculation. They'll be speculating on it. And then, so one, that dollar, because this is money that's supposed to be able to go around the economy.
Okay.
That's where it's supposed to go. And somebody actually be able to hold it down somewhere. It's happening so because just like what rice is, the way rice is being hoarded is the way the dollar itself is being hoarded. So when you hoard it in that way, government, now individual may feel like, it's my own personal gain. But remember, government is actually a utilitarian enforcer to ensure do the common good. Not a personal good.
But the government themselves, don't they hoard this?
That's what people are saying. But you know, if they do that, it is considered a criminal offense. Also, because it's an economic sabotage.
It is. Okay, then, and brings me to another question. Okay. What about the case of buying mint currencies?
Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's wrong as well. That's why I'm not supposed to use
why is it always like a thing in parties?
They'll
say 15,000, 20,000, they'll say 15,000. They'll say, so how much the money that you want
to even yeah, I understand. So it's an offense.
It's
that's
an
why
offense.
Yes, it is.
So why is nothing
it's considered an abuse of the naira. That's what they are. In fact, you see cases of where they have been arrested. The National Intelligence Agency, in collaboration with the CBN, are doing a lot of campaigns in that regard. You know, abuse of the naira. In fact, they consider abuse of the naira to write on it, write on the naira, buy it, spray it. Yes, buying.
Wow. So why is minted currency, why is it hard to get in the banks?
That's what I'm saying. So, in fact, remember, I think the CBN even able to sanction banks because some of them are trading on it deliberately. So the CBN, so that's what I'm saying. People will do things because of their own personal aggrandizement. That's what I'm saying. So they all did for their own. Okay, there's a party next weekend because people would actually be able to spray, minted notes, minted currencies are the ones that people will want to be able to gravitate towards. So banks are making a lot of money from that. So it's illegal. You understand? That's the question. The central bank has, for umpteenth time, exactly.
So it's illegal to
buy in naira, to be saying you want to be able to now.
Really?
Yes, it is.
Thank you for letting me know.
It is illegal. So now say somebody just be able to go to parties and then put heap of money
Because you see
and say, yeah, come and buy
seems
minted
like a
money. You
thing.
understand? Exactly.
Yeah.
And say,
You see
come and
it every time and it seems like a
buy
thing.
minted money and then tell you, yeah, please, you understand? So I'm sure maybe the party, you see FCC coming, in fact, it's part of the FCC's mandate. They go there and arrest people. You just see them. They just sit somewhere beside the party, and then they have heap of money by the side.
It's
and
even
then
the rates for me. It's not even as
it's
if they'll
crazy.
say 20,000, 2,000.
Because so that's why
20,000. They can tell you 15,000.
1,000 for 20,000. I can imagine how changeous that is.
That's like
because they know
for
it's
me,
the
for what
status
it's
based.
worth, for what it's worth, it's even better to transfer money to these people. I think it will help.
It will help.
How many times do people?
But you know, there is always the oblate mentality. What they call it?
Yeah.
Maybe okay. I just want to show.
I think that those people that pack those money for you will take their own share.
Of course, yeah. Or you just looking at them and say, "Don't pick that one." You can't tell them. And they believe that you've done the giveaway already.
There are people
can't be telling you it's not for you. Okay.
There are people that's what they like to do in weddings. That's their own response. Like they'll be like, don't worry, I'll
be able to pack money
because they will make so much money. But let's move to another story before we come to Business Day newspaper. Now, Catholic bishops say this to the federal government. They say Nigeria's poverty and insecurity worsening. This is according to Catholic bishops, and they've said it well.
Of course,
because the poverty level, it's an offshoot of this big story that we're talking about. We're talking about how
poverty
price of rice has risen from 2.5, but people's earnings. It would be nice to see. Do you know why this breaks my heart more? It would be nice to see that we're talking about the rise of price from 2005 to 105,000 in 2024. That's in 24 years. But you'll be shocked that the people's earnings in 2000 to 2024 has hardly increased. Maybe if there's an increase, maybe just
maybe there's a head.
And now with this slight increase, they are still buying 105,000 naira. 105,000 naira bag of rice, of which they were buying it in 2.5 with not really much of an increase. Because this year you will see that even from last year, where we had some percentage inflation that we went through, the year before the last
4,000% increase.
People's salaries have not increased.
Have not. So I think two things, because I can see it's like a serious pinpoint. Poverty and insecurity. I think the jury is still out there. I'm sure you heard about between January now. In fact, we're talking about between December last year and now, how Boko Haram has reinforced, and they've used. In fact, they're using drones now and sophisticated weapons to attack FOBs, frontline operating base of militaries. The one they attacked was yesterday or 2 days ago, where they killed a commanding officer, General Lashe. There was a memoir I was actually reading about the man. They used a shrapnel, more or less a shrapnel that emanated from one of the drones. So they're having an area surveillance as well, just like the military are there. And people are looking at maybe there's a time, maybe there are external influences, external support, because the kind of weapons they're actually using. So insecurity has festered, and poverty, because the question will be, some people repented, the military has killed this number of people, and you still see them go and reinforce, and then having larger number of people, you understand, coming back, and then, so it has actually been the general strategy. I mean, it has actually been the recurring theme, the recurring decimal that we've actually been noticing about this. So the Catholic bishop, maybe telling the government of what is really, really the major challenge again, and how government should see that poverty, right, has not improved. Maybe the government needed to know and then move out of their bubbles. At the same time, insecurity, because these two are two socioeconomic indicators that are driving down the prosperity of this nation, and then no one can be able to deny that particular fact. So I told, in fact, they've been emboldened. At the time, we've actually noticed some peace in the northeast, but there were cases about the Boko Haram reinforcing, getting more support, getting more weapons, maybe from external influences, because at the time they actually suffered a lot of losses. I'm talking about Boko Haram, but now just a commanding officer died. Recently, we had one where they go and attack in Zamfara. You understand? And this other one too, in the Boko Haram attacking them in Borno, and they're coming out again with all this. So, security experts and experts have actually been able to say, yeah, the government has actually done enough through Buhari's regime, this regime. They put a lot of money. You understand? The what's it called? The security defenses in Abuja was actually was a confident, a morale boosting strategy, a morale boosting endeavor on the part of government. If you look at the military, the new military architecture that was actually built for them in Abuja, I mean, was actually very massive, and that has actually been the case. But the Catholic bishop is actually trying to be able to, trumpet what people are saying, tell government, further, to be able to tell them more still needed to be done. Poverty, insecurity kept worsening in the nation, and they needed to look into it. I mean, it is very, very vital. That needed to be checked into. And see how that can really help us. I'm sure the government, we won't be able to say it's not for lack of trying anyway. Maybe there should be other angles to be able to look at it. You understand? Other angles to be able to combat, the heightening insecurity at the level of violence that's actually going on.
Yeah, and 2025 has to actually be a good year, because there's a lot we've been complaining about for years now. But let's see what the Business Day newspaper has on the front page today very quickly. The big story on the Business Day newspaper says Tinubu wants to drill Ogoni oil, but cleanup drags. Now, we've been on about this Ogoni cleanup for a while now. Last week, we had a conversation on the big story. Very interesting conversation with Odinaka Amudu, who also wrote the story, as well as someone from that area, Mr. Fineface, and he really spoke on that. And they spoke from the perspective of people who have been there. Odinaka has been following the Ogoni cleanup, investigative journalist, and Fineface is resident, so he understands
the dynamics of what is going on.
What do you think about this entire situation?
I mean, it's so. We know one thing. When President Tinubu called them last week, he called the Ogoni representative delegate last week. And what he really mentioned is we needed to be able to bury the hatchet, and the oil in Ogoni that have actually been in hiatus for more than 20 years now. We need to be able to start exploring oil there. But people are still saying that maybe it is not only the representative alone. Most needed to be done. Just like you said, the cleanup is needed before we even talk about the explorations. Just go to there. I mean, yeah, I've not been there. I'm talking to people that have been there, but I saw the damage, the level of damage, especially the one done by Shell. Shell was actually declared. In fact, they have even abandoned the whole location themselves. Shell contributed to most of those degradations that were there, and I think they've actually been able to move away from there, move to other part of River State. To be able to prospect oil.
Well, now when they move to other parts of River State, my question is, are they going to replicate the same thing they've done?
So maybe they because they too, that doesn't mean they're doing a whole lot in Ogoni. Scholarships, they regularly be able to allocate, certain fundings for cleanup as well. Buhari started the cleanup of the Ogoni. You understand? The cleanup was actually the first stage. And the president has promised, the current president has actually promised that cleanup we needed to actually be done first before we can even talk about the oil. The oil is still there. No oil has actually been prospected there, as we said, for more than 30 years now. That's been the case. They've not been able to prospect oil since 1992 or there about 1994, 1995. They've not been able to prospect oil in the Ogoni land. So Shell, they are producing somewhere else, just like Shell, and then they have other oil rigs in other parts of River State. But some of the notable indigenes of Ogoni land, Magnus Abe, The former governor was also from there, and some other notable people that came from the Ogoni land, were still saying just two things. One, the delegation that went to visit the president, the national security advisor that brokered that deal, still needed to be able to go back to the land, hear from the people on the ground. I think that is very important. Let's hear from them what they really wanted. And two, the cleanup needed to be fast-tracked as much as possible. What has really happened to Buhari's allocation to it? I think that is still calling for a lot of questions. They were saying they have not received anything, but the money has been allocated. Government claimed certain amount of money has been given to some of their representatives to go on with the cleanup. So I know there's still something fishy, between the Ogoni land representatives, you understand, the government, and some of the major players.
And that's probably the reason why it's dragging. But
it's a serious
again,
issue.
like I always say, we'll just have to keep an eye and see how this pans out, and hopefully it pans out positively. But just to point out some of the stories, we're not going to analyze them. This one says 5 banks clear USSD debt as deadline elapses. I mean, that's with the whole telecommunication
telcos and banks
debt thingy. Now, Trump's critics from Bogota to the Arctic buckle under US power. Now, judiciary is now a biggest threat to Nigeria's democracy, and this is according to article. It continues on page 7. Ardell, MTN, and other stocks to watch as some of the stocks to watch this week, and this continues on page 30. One thing about the BusinessDay newspaper, it's always in-depth analysis. You get all that you need to know about for your business. Like the teaser we always play, Femi Adesina says, if you really mean business, you should start your day with the BusinessDay newspaper, and that's the truth. So you should grab a copy of the BusinessDay newspaper everywhere around you. You find a copy, or you can visit www.businessday.ng to find out more in-depth analysis of some of the stories that we have on our newspaper today. But let's see what we have on the cartoon of the day today. The cartoon of the day is always very interesting. Like I always say, very punchy, very spectacular. But this one is, always interesting, as I always say. Now, Mexico refuses U.S. military flight deporting. And there you have Donald Trump and then the Mexican president. And then you have the Mexican reporters in the plane. It's not a plane or an helicopter or something. And that's
Mexican deportees.
Oh my goodness.
It looks like
reporters. I was wondering what reporters are. So there's Mexican reporters, and then you can see the United States President Donald Trump holding, and then Mexican president also holding.
Please. We don't want them. Of course, I mean, it's been a battle. We talked about the Colombia. I think you read that just now. The Trump critics, the Colombian case. And that is President Morella as well from Mexico, who has rejected the deportees. They cannot just be able to turn us into a dumping ground. But that's a Trump threat. We all knew his stance on immigration. It's expected that he's going to be able to go bonkers, right, when it comes to deportation. And he has started them. If you're not able to receive them, then you'll be able to whip them with tariff. That's actually been his promise, that if you're not going to get your deportees, those are actually deported from our country, then be expected to be able to get more tariffs that be able to impose away from them. So I'm sure this will be able to unveil as days ahead. Trump and major superpowers, president of countries, trying to be able to react as well to his emergence and to some of his policies that he's planning to come with.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed Akonji, for sharing your insights with us today on the newspaper front pages. There have been very interesting spread of papers. We went from the Punch to the Vanguard and to BusinessDay newspaper, which always tops it with the cartoon of the day, and that was really punchy. Well, thank you for watching us today. We'll be back very soon for the news at 10, so stay with us.
When you think about the word supplements, it tells you that you're trying to make up something that isn't there.
Right.
But if you're a normal human being, You don't have any what we call malabsorption syndromes, like your body can absorb the food that you eat. You actually don't need them.
Right.
So every nutrient that you require can be consumed in the food that you eat.
Right.
You find out that a lot of those people that are on so-called low-carb diets tend to constantly have low energy. You're not able, so your brain actually needs glucose to function.
Yes.
So you sort of operate below your potential because you're constantly hungry. However, it depends on your level of physical activity. For example, if I'm a laborer or I'm a farmer, I work on the farm, obviously I'm going to need more carbohydrates because I'm expending more energy. But if you're someone like most of us that have desk jobs, you get into the office at 8 in the morning, you sit till 5.
Yeah, exactly.
You're really sedentary. Where we recommend supplements typically are, for example, if an individual has what we call a malabsorption syndrome, like your body can absorb the food that you eat.
Right.
Or say pregnant women, your requirements are a lot more because of the baby. We put them on supplements to make up for the deficiency. But for a normal human being, every single nutrient that you require can be consumed in food.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's
so
good to know.
save your money.
Thank you, Dr. Blossom, for that.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa.
So I'm Sam Abu. I'm the country senior partner for PwC Nigeria and the regional senior partner for PwC West Market, which is West Africa.
The event has just been wrapped up and it was really, really insightful. I want to know, aside from like my own personal experience, what was the reason why this roundtable was so important to hold?
This forum, these kind of sessions provide us an opportunity to have very important conversations about the direction of the country. There are a number of business leaders in the room today, as you saw. And the one thing that business leaders are contending with is how to navigate the complexities of operating in the kind of global economic environment that we are into. So these conversations or these sessions enable us to share perspectives and insights and information about how the strategies to deploy in running our businesses. But I think it's also very important in shaping the conversations we need to have in this country about the direction of travel of the country. Because we are all, whether business leaders or individuals, we're all stakeholders in this country.
Yes.
So having this opportunity to have conversations and discussions about our economy, about the budget, about government reforms and policies is a critical part of the job that we have to do as business leaders, as individuals in this country. So this is, I would say that is the primary motivation for doing something like this. But I think it's of immense value to everybody who attends it.
Thank you so much. I also want to know, what is your major takeaway from this event?
If I was to say the one thing that I took away was optimism. You know, I mean, we kind of came in there today, everybody had a slightly pessimistic view of where 2025, what 2025 would mean for businesses, especially given where we're coming from in 2024. Think about the macroeconomic challenges that we've had to deal with in 2024 in Nigeria and even across the world, inflation, currency volatility, you just name it. But the overwhelming sentiment today was positivity. Like, I think it can't get any worse than it was last year, you see? So inflation, the outlook is that inflation is going to come down, going to trend down. There's going to be some stability in exchange rates. There's even a suggestion that exchange rate might come down. God, amen to that, right?
Amen. Yeah.
So yeah, I would say the overwhelming sentiment is 2025 will be a better year than 2024, and we'll begin to see an upward trajectory in all our metrics, economic metrics. Of course, the road ahead is still rough. 2024 was that it is a better year doesn't mean it is perfect or it is good. Yeah. It is just that we're coming from a very low base when you talk about inflation or currency volatility. So the fact that we're going up, we're trending up, is reason to be hopeful and reason to be optimistic about the future of business in Nigeria.
Thank you so much, sir, for sitting with us and granting us this interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
So I would like to get what your key takeaways from this event. I believe that you were not just a panelist, but you were also a member of the audience.
Yeah, the key takeaway for me will be that there was the consistency and consensus that the reforms were the right reforms, and that the direction of travel is going to take us to the Nigeria that we want. It's also one of the takeaways also that the outlook for 2025 is much better than 2024 was. And this is not just because we're being optimistic. It is based on what the data is saying around inflation expectations and the factors that were stoking inflation in 2024, which are no longer there in 2025. In addition to the base effect that, you know, it can be worse than it was before. Yeah. And then you have expectation around interest rates, because as inflation begins to moderate, the authorities, monetary authorities, will have the reason to cut interest rates. And also, even additionally, we have the credit concession scheme for the businesses. All of these altogether mean that we should have the opportunity to celebrate or begin to celebrate in 2025 that the sacrifices that we made as a people is beginning to yield results. And for people generally, it's to not just all be negative about the economy, because that way you may miss out on the opportunities, which I think are bound across all sectors.
Okay, so based on the panel that you just had, I heard that you spoke a lot about data, and from what we're just discussing right now, you seem to be a very big liver of data. So what are the opportunities that people should look forward to investing into in 2025 if they want to thrive in their businesses?
I think it cuts across all sectors because whether you're talking about manufacturing or industry generally, whether you're talking about services, including financial services, telecommunication, whether you're talking about energy sector, we have a lot of focus around energy in particular, from renewable to additional investments, including the policy decentralizing electricity regulation, which means that the state can now decide, to generate and put whatever excess into the grid. So those reforms are also going to provide opportunities across the board. Even the tariff increase on telecommunication, why nobody is happy that tariffs are going up, the issue is that will help them to improve quality, and quality of service will feed into the economy by way of better productivity, which will overcompensate for the additional tariff and that we're having to bear. And so I do think that depending on the sector you operate, just look out for the opportunities and you will find.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. It was really lovely sitting with you. I want to know, is there any other thing you would like to add? Maybe a question that you felt was not answered properly in the hall, or you would like to say anything here?
No, I think it's just to encourage everyone to play their part and engage with the government constructively. And that's the way to solve the problems. Complaints don't solve problems. Ideas and solutions are the ways to solve problems.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for sitting with us.
My name is Dr. Gabriel Ubeche. I'm the Group Managing Director of Rain Oil Limited.
You spoke really well in your panel and you did really amazing with the questions that were thrown at you also, but we still have more questions and we just want to know, what is your outlook for this year in the light of the new policies that has been brought out in 2025?
2025 remains a very optimistic year. I think our worst days are behind us. 2024, 2023, we had the twin challenge of the fuel subsidy removal and the attendant increase in the price of petroleum products, and then the Naira devaluation, which also impacted the price of petroleum products. And then we saw the demand for petroleum products go down and the general effect it had on the economy. A lot of companies took FX losses, but I think that 2025, all that is behind us now. All we see is positivity. I think the economy now is in the right trajectory. We've seen a calmness in the exchange rate, because I've always argued that the problem we've had in this country, or the problem we've had in the last year or so, wasn't really what the exchange rate was, as much as people waking up in the morning and not knowing what the exchange rate is. So it doesn't matter whether exchange rate is 1,006 or 1,007 or 1,008, but could it be stable? Can we plan with it? Can we wake up in the morning and say exchange rate is 1,800 and you can hold on to the fact that it's 1,800? That wasn't what the case was. But now we've seen calmness in the exchange rate. Exchange rate is now about 1,550 naira to the dollar. Again, because of the transparency which the Central Bank of Nigeria brought to the exchange rate regime. And I'm aware that they keep tweaking those policies. So we're seeing that stability. And once you have that stability, I think the economy will definitely pick up.
Okay. Also, I know that you were a panelist, but you're also part of the audience first before you went on to your panel. So what are your key takeaways from the entire event, both from your own panel and the one before you?
My key takeaway is when Taiwo Uidele said we should think positively, because, when we think negatively, it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I completely agree with him when he gave the example of, it's like when you wake up and say, oh, Naira is going to devalue. Once you have that mindset, you find out that you unconsciously begin to take actions towards that goal. And once everybody begins to take action towards that goal, then it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Naira loses value. So we should stop betting against the Naira. I mean, when he also said that we have $30 billion in domiciliary accounts in Nigeria, If Nigerians are holding $30 billion within Nigerian banks, then it simply means that the whole nation have essentially bet against the Naira. Then we should take responsibility for what the outcome, which we all eventually got. But again, I think that things can only get better.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for granting us this interview. And I hope to see you in more events so that we can also interact.
Thank you, Norma.
Thank you so much for agreeing to sit with us. I would like to know your key takeaways from the event today, because I know that you were not just a panelist, but you were also part of the audience.
Okay, so I think for me, it's the positive outlook. I can say it's cautious optimism, but the fact that there is hope in the horizon and that 2025 will be a much better year than 2024 was across a number of dimensions. I think that's my key takeaway. And that's uplifting for myself and for other listeners as well. So that's my key takeaway.
Okay, thank you so much. Also, you spoke on some trends, which is AI at this point. And for so many businesses, they are lagging behind in joining up with this trend of AI. What would be your advice to those organizations and businesses in implementing AI into their system?
Okay, as I said during the session, AI is here to stay. And the fact that it can have a significant impact on what we do, how we live, how businesses will run can't be underestimated. I think for me, the biggest thing that needs to happen locally is they need to build trust, because stakeholders need to understand what it's about and how it will benefit them. And part of that building trust, for me, is practicing responsible AI. Responsible AI is about looking at not just the legal dimension, but the ethical dimension. There are always ethical questions thrown up when people start talking about AI. There could be bias, there could be hallucinations. There are a raft of issues to consider. But responsible AI, really, it's about just approaching AI from the point of view of ensuring accountability, transparency, and fairness in how it is done. I think that's the very first step. And for anybody going into an AI conversation, you need to first define what responsible AI means to you. Once you tackle that, then you can begin to build trust in that process. Obviously, then you also need to invest in technology and capacity building. But as I said, there are interesting use cases going on globally. And we need to, as a people, as a nation, as an industry, begin to start leveraging those use cases and seeing how we can use those to scale up and improve our bottom line and our efficiencies and operational efficiencies as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma. Thank you for granting us this interview. And I hope to see you another time so that we could talk more.
Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, you're welcome to this week's edition of the Business Day Exclusive. Today we have Patrick Njoroge, the former Central Bank of Kenya governor, who will be talking to us today about his experience as a central bank governor in Kenya, his milestones and successes, as well as some of the interesting discoveries he made during his short stint here in Nigeria. During your tenure as the governor of the Central Bank of Kenya, you split a lot of hairs, especially for the tight grip on the banking system. But you still ended up winning 4 awards as the African Central Banker of the Year during your 8-year stint. So, what memories have remained with you from your time as CBK governor today?
Basically, the 8 years were, I would say, very eventful. A lot of events. And I think first, when we started off, we did have significant macroeconomic imbalances, inflation, exchange rate, etc. And also in the course of our time there, we were hit by many shocks. This is a time when I think the number of shocks and size of shocks increased dramatically. So volatility was a big issue. And the shocks, obviously, some of them were internal, and others were external. The price of oil, for instance, interest rates as well, external interest rates. All those things were things that we had to deal with. So the enduring memory is one of being in a boat out in the ocean and the waves, sort of batting the poor little thing. That's the memory I have. But I think at the end of the day, we brought it to shore. And it is true, maybe there were some large waves that almost capsized the entire economy. For instance, the interest rate caps that were imposed, and also some banking sector shocks. 3 banks were closed, and other shocks like that. But I think the enduring memory is one of having made it safely to port because of the collective support of people, meaning first the central bank staff, phenomenal. Secondly, all the banking sector operators working, understanding their role, and of course, more generally, the political class, meaning the administration supporting us in our objectives. So we believe that the enduring memory I have is one of having strengthened the system and leaving a better fit for purpose financial sector.
What was your vision for the Central Bank of Kenya during your stint as governor? And would you say you're comfortable with what was achieved?
The vision that we had was one of a modern, world-class central bank. And that's really the dominant, let's say, direction, our North Star, our guiding star during the time we were there. Now, that really meant that we needed to improve whatever was there in order to be that modern central bank in both the systems, the processes, and the people. So it wasn't just a general thing. So in each area of the central bank, we needed to be world-class. So we just went up one after the other, Obviously, everybody first had to be seized by this vision and understand that in their space, they need to improve the systems, the processes, right, and the people, right from, let's say, the people who do the cleaning or the security to, how the governor did his work. Everybody had to be world-class and all the processes around that. So it was a dominant sort of direction. And I think we achieved that in various ways. And I think it's a vision that continues to guide the central bank after we've left the place. But I think it is something that we can say we are proud of, because in some areas, actually, it is true. There has been recognition, even externally. For instance, a key area, we won a prize on central banking prize. This was in 2016 in the area of communication in terms of our website. The best website was central banks. And then just most recently, we won a prize. This is after I'd left the place, on a project that we had been doing for 5 years. And this was the Central Securities Depository. Again, the best central securities depository in the world. So it is a validation of achieving a vision. But that doesn't mean that it has ended. But I am delighted that we have been recognized. But there are many other things that have not been recognized. The people, the training we had to do, the improvement in, let's say, the processes that they did. So that's really what I can say. And I'm most proud of what we've done during that period.
Okay, so you alluded earlier to interest rate curbs, that happened while you were governor. I know that, yes, indeed, one was imposed in September 2016. And I know that you were very vocal in opposing those interest rate curbs on how much banks could charge on loans to customers, because it was felt at the time that some of these banks were ripping off customers with high interest rates that were not. And then you wanted them to show walk-ins and all of that. The government wanted them to show walk-ins and all of that. So you opposed that. What were your concerns at the time with that policy?
So really the whole story around interest rate caps, the genesis of it was a general concern that banks or customers were being charged very high interest rates on loans. Also, there are other things, nuisance costs or nuisance charges on all sorts of things. So that sort of general feeling, and the population felt that actually the bankers, the banking sector was tone deaf. So their concerns and their cries had fallen on deaf ears. At the same time, the banks were doing very well in terms of their return on equity, etc. So it didn't, there was clearly a problem. And unfortunately, if you have a hammer, everything you see looks like a nail. So the politicians, the legislators make laws, and they thought that the way to deal with it is to make a law that actually dictated what needed to happen. And we opposed that because first, having an interest rate cap was going to have significant consequences, negative consequences on the economy. Beyond despite the issues that they were trying to address, there will be other much larger, much more adverse consequences, such as things like we say that there will be significant rationing of credit, and so it will be available to just some people. And so banks won't do what you expect them to do, which is have credit available to most borrowers, etc. And then other things as well. There'll be also, I mean, it's not clear that banks will end up having lower income, right? They'll continue with this lack of sort of understanding of where the customer is, etc. So we opposed it because we knew that that is actually not even the best practice around the world, and we said there are other ways of dealing with this thing. Anyway, be as it may, we were overruled. It went ahead, and indeed, what then happened is we communicated to the public. We told the public these are the things that are going to happen. And indeed, after they went ahead, and the law was put in place. It was put in place on September 14, 2016, which was the 50th anniversary of the central bank. So that was a 50th anniversary gift, on that very day. So the point is that what the consequences were exactly as we had mentioned, and indeed as dire, and they pushed down the economy, and it became clear that we were right after all. And therefore, in the end, the interest rate caps were lifted, were removed. But in the interim, we had been working with the banks to make them much more customer-centric. That's really what we thought the dominant solution would be. And much more customer-centric, or to be customer-centric, to have better pricing of model or better pricing of loans, so risk-based pricing of loans, to have a better credit referencing, meaning credit assessment of different borrowers having different, let's say, risk, and that being assessed exactly. And basically, those are things that we put in place in the context of a new banking charter, which we introduced later and has remained in place. So I think the banking sector now is stronger. So in a sense, from a difficulty, we got a strength, we drew out a strength. And I think the banking sector was therefore, in some sense, saved. And customers were also saved in this regard.
I mean, it's not much different in Nigeria, because you hear people also talk about how, banks are not necessarily giving out loans at favorable interest rates. They feel like they're being ripped off as well. I think Kenya probably offers a good example why such interest caps on how much banks can price their loans would never work, really. It ends up being counterproductive.
I think it's important for us to learn from each other.
Yeah.
The experiences of Kenya on interest rate caps have actually been picked up by other countries that maybe where there are those same concerns.
muting the same.
But at the end, we need to appreciate that you cannot. At the end, the laws of economics apply.
Precisely.
And there are differences across countries, but laws of economics apply.
Yeah.
And it is important, therefore, for banks to be customer-centric and improve. And there's an entire framework that they need to put in place in order to be to have risk-based pricing of loans, etc. But it is important to walk that journey. Yeah, you don't start at the end. You start where you are and continue on that journey.
Okay. So, are there any parallels you see between the Kenyan banking sector at the time where you were central bank governor and the Nigerian banking sector today?
Well, I don't know. I've only been here a week, so I mean, there's no way I can pretend to be an expert. Or I mean, you know more about the banking sector here, or virtually every Nigerian knows more about the banking sector here than I do. The thing that has struck me while I've been here is just like the number of bank branches that you have. I mean, I've just going down one of the streets, there are like 10 of these branches. Yeah. In Kenya, you don't quite have that. Why? Because we are much more in the mobile banking space. So we use our phones. I have made the point before that in my 8 years as central bank governor, I've probably gone to a bank branch once. And since then, in the last 1 year, I haven't been to a branch. I don't need to. Why? Because most of all my transactions are on the phone. I can do it from the comfort of my home, etc. You can also do online, like on the laptop, etc. But most of us are in the space of mobile banking using our handheld devices.
Precisely, yeah.
And so you can do a lot of that. So in effect, Kenya, what we have seen is actually a contraction of these banks, making them smaller, the branches.
Yeah, and investing more in technology.
And more investments in technology. So really making sure that technology goes out there.
Yeah.
Now, with technology, it just means that you don't need to have branches in every single street. Or for that matter, there are towns that you need, small towns, you probably need one branch and that's sufficient, and it doesn't have to have all services. So I think there has been some rationalization. So that is one. So this whole business of mobile banking, I think, is something that a lot of us would learn from maybe Kenya and others that are at the forefront. Obviously, we were also, the COVID period helped us as well. I mean, it accelerated banking, mobile banking, adoption, etc. So that is one point. I think the other one, as I mentioned, is this thing of being customer-centric. I don't know how customer-centric your banks are, but I think there's a journey there. We too, meaning in Kenya, you cannot say that you are now customer-centric. It's a journey that it's like, running the marathon. You have to train every day. You have to become better and, push down your time by a second or two. So it's that effort that needs to be maintained. And then finally, the issue of, you should appreciate that Nigerian banks are the large banks at least, very Pan-African. They're extended in Africa. And indeed, you have 3 jurisdictions that you could say have Pan-African banks. Yeah, Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya. And the issue is, how are they working in those other jurisdictions? Are they becoming, they're not just taking what they know here. They're actually serving those jurisdictions, the best they can with the services. So I think those are the 3 areas that I'll probably flag that we need to learn from each other.
So I want to take you back to an interview that you did at Yale University, where you said one of the biggest challenges you faced, during your time as the CBK governor was having to close down the mid-sized lender Chase Bank in 2016. Can you speak to some of the challenges you faced? What made it so challenging?
Basically, the closing of a bank is a difficult decision. But I think it is also important to understand that it is not like you go out and turn on a switch or turn off a switch. There's an entire process, right? And from a point of view of, a bank may have difficulties and it's supported in particular ways, etc. And to a point where you just realize that this is untenable. And the decision, after carefully weighing that, then one decide to close it. I think the issue of closing banks in general is one of the impact on people.
I would like to ask this question about Nigeria, as well as other African countries, are putting up reforms to ensure that they improve dollar liquidity in the foreign exchange markets, as well as improve investor confidence. What would you say are, how would you assess the pace of these reforms?
Wow, how much time do you have? I mean, that's maybe something that one can write, many PhD dissertations on. But anyway, in sum, I think it is important to understand the following. First, the context of every economy. There are no two economies that are identical.
Mm-hmm.
And so the specificity of every economy, and the specificity maybe even the way people deal with things, the way people deal with banks, things like that. So, and then the other one, which is important, which is, let's say, the fundamental, was the foundation of some of these things, is the macroeconomic strength, the strength of the macroeconomic framework. Right? I mean, think about the standard macroeconomic measures of macroeconomic performance, right? Things like inflation.
Mm-hmm.
How well are we doing on that? How well are we doing on growth, the economic activity, and also things about where are we in terms of the development of the various markets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at times we think that there's only one market, which is the foreign exchange market. That's not true. There are many markets. You have the goods market, which is how you get your inflation numbers. You also have the money market. That's another price. You have the labor market, which is the unemployment and sort of thing. And it goes on.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm making the point that defines the context of what happens in terms of the reforms. And that's where you always start. And then you begin to build the institutions in each one of these areas. You cannot build on sand. You should not build on sand, even though it's very easy to begin building on sand, So yes, maybe if you have sand, you have to drive some piles down there to support what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the regulators are in many areas in Africa. Now, it doesn't mean that all of us, all the reforms are the same across countries, are all at the same place. Yeah, we talked about, for instance, mobile banking, where Kenya is much further ahead. Yeah? That has its implications, for instance, on the effectiveness of monetary policy, yeah, and the instruments that you have. So I'm trying to make the point that context is really the one that you have to begin with, and there's no one size fits all. But in general, in each economy, you need to assess the stability, macroeconomic stability. If you haven't dealt with that, gotten a sort of a reasonably stable macroeconomic, at least from a point of view, macroeconomic indicators, then you have some ways to go. I think you don't have to have it perfectly right. But I mean, inflation needs to be brought under control. Yeah, and even as you are doing other things. Why? Because that actually determines, even you mentioned investor confidence.
Yeah.
That determines that. It determines even the premium, the risk premium that maybe some investors will demand in order to invest in you. So it has macroeconomic impact today and in the future. At the same time, you are working to strengthen the instruments, for instance, monetary policy instruments. And this, I think, for instance, working towards moving, what are the instruments that are used in terms of guiding monetary policy? There's the whole business of inflation targeting. In order to get there, you need to build a whole lot of infrastructure to support that. And the infrastructure means building institutions, building capacity in those things. I want to finish by saying that if the banking sector doesn't work correctly, the economy stumbles.
Sure.
And this is from a point of view of even, let's say, risk management. We talked about that. From a point of view of directing investments to the most, let's say, effective, greatest return, those things won't happen. You can also talk about intermediation of savings. So all that won't happen if indeed we have a weak banking sector.
Precisely.
And I think banks are not just trading; they're supposed to do all those things. And I think that's the journey.
And I guess that's why a lot of African economies are prioritizing strengthening the banking sector, at this time, to just ensure that they get their economies up and running. What would you say are your thoughts on how to go about this? Because during your tenure as Central Bank of Kenya's governor, you also went about the same purpose of, just trying to strengthen the banks in Kenya as well.
No, I mean, one needs to be clear.
Starting point.
All jurisdictions are not the same. All economies are not the same. So what needs to be improved? What are the gaps, etc. And in general sense, I just say that there is this improvement that needs to be done towards customer centricity. Meaning, what is the objective if it is not to serve customers? And then making use of improving the various instruments. We talked about risk-based pricing of loans. That is extremely important. We talked about improving the various delivery channels, and even internally, the thing of risk management, internal risk management. I mean, think for instance, if we are more into digital technology, or let's say IT based, it means you have to be much more concerned about, for instance, cybersecurity. And that requires so it's not a free lunch.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your time. That was a great conversation. Thank you.
For more in-depth analysis, please read up on our website at www.businessday.ng.
My name is Raymond Ezeku. I work for Dabodani Microfinance Bank, DDMFB. I head the business development of the bank.
All right, sir. During the pandemic return, there are important access to funding as a major challenge SMEs face doing business in Nigeria. So as someone in the finance and banking states, what are your suggestions? What can be done to address this challenge?
Okay, you see, from what the panelists have been saying so far, SMEs have been facing a very huge challenge, in Nigeria. And one of the key issues is access to funding, all right? So access to funding, first of all, you will have to ask yourself as a business owner, have I really organized my business, so that I should be able to have access to funding that is available
Okay, funding is available. Take it from the CBN to the BOI to microfinance to commercial banks. Is my company prepared to access this funding? So what do you need? You need what we call the structure. You have to set the enabling structure in place. You have to formalize your business for you to have access to this funding. I did the MLB. We are a microfinance bank, having been in the industry for the past 10 good years. Okay, we have understood the key challenges facing this sector, and to foster financial inclusion in Nigeria, that is why we are in business. So we are known for what we do in the SME. Okay, so what we do is to develop products tailored to address the needs of these SME businesses. All right, we have our savings. Okay, we have our loans. We have several classes of savings that we have. Okay, we mobilize this deposit from these SMEs and then also deploy loans, okay, to these SMEs depending on what you think. So our loans, okay, are tailored to address that critical need, taking your business to the next level. So we also provide this financial advice to our customers, explaining what they need to know, okay, in the sector, how to access this fund, how to apply it, okay, and we communicate everything in details. Here the offer that we issue to them. Okay?
How do you see that like this addressing most of this, bringing solutions to others?
Okay, I have been here since morning and it is quite impactful. Okay, I have listened to the panelists, in fact, the organization. I thank BusinessDay for organizing this particular event. It is a very big plus, and I look forward to seeing this very often because they need to address the needs of these small and medium-scale entrepreneurs. It is something that should be a top priority by every responsible government. Okay, so we have a country where in a very deep when it concerns the economy right now. Imagine the unemployment rate. Okay, our inflation is in excess of 32%. Okay, and you have a sector that has contributed more than 50% to our national GDP, suffering due to the current economic crisis that we find ourselves. So organizing this kind of event is something that should, all the SMEs should leverage on what we have achieved today, okay, and see how they can take advantage of it to take their businesses to the next level, okay. We have the finance experts. We have the SME experts. Listen to them tells you that there is opportunity. Even in the present crisis that we find ourselves, there is still opportunity in this land with a population of over 200 million. So Nigeria is, a fertile ground, for people to grow. Despite the pressure, the economic pressure, you see this SME is still pushing, still thriving. So that is it. So it's a very good opportunity.
Can we know more about the EMLD?
Okay, DDMLB, formerly known as Dabodani Microfinance Bank, has been in existence for the past 10 good years. We are a state microfinance bank, okay, licensed to operate in major markets in Lagos. As we speak, we are in 11 major locations, key markets in Lagos, where we do our business of microfinance bank. What we guarantee our customers is that financial freedom and prosperity in all we do. So we do that in aspect of our savings. We encourage customers to save. There's a product that we call SOL, where you save and make. So it is a product that we do every year. At the end of the period, customers go away with very quality prizes they have won for themselves. In addition to fantastic interest rate that we pay to these depositors, okay, we have other savings products, okay. We have our target savings, our personal savings. We have special savings, okay, where customers save and enjoy our quality rates. Very fantastic and very competitive in the industry. We also have our loan products, okay, and that is where the deal is. Our loan products, we have SME, we have micro. Our SMEs, we do that to take the businesses to the next level, okay? We have fantastic interest rates, okay? Our tenure, we drop these loans on a tenure, okay, that is, one, affordable and attractive to you. Okay, so our loan ranges from 1 to 12 good months. Okay, for other businesses like schools, okay, we drop these loans on quarterly basis or termly basis to enable these schools have cash flows to do what? Pay when the schools are in session. All right. So we have businesses out there in Alaba, Trade Fair, Ikeja, all the major markets in Lagos. DDMAB is playing real time, big time there. Okay, for SMEs.
Okay, so why only in Lagos and what are your expansion plans?
DDMAB is a product of a successful buyover of one unit microfinance bank. So having gotten the state license, okay, our 3-year strategic plan is to expand our horizon to see how we can foster this, our pursuit of financial freedom and prosperity to our customers, nationally. Okay. So we are looking at leveraging on technology, okay, seeing how we can deploy technology to our tools where you can sit at the comfort of your home, open our accounts, make application for loan and have the same loan disbursed to you without leaving your debt. We are going to do that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
I'm Peter Chinedu Nwafia. I'm a tax partner and also the head of tax at Forvis Mazars in Nigeria.
The panel session is centered on funding as a major constraint to the development of Nigeria SMEs.
Okay.
What can be done to address these challenges?
If you listen to quite a lot of people who've spoken, they'd say that the issue about funding is a serious issue for SMEs. One of the things that stood out for me was when they said that the people who house these funds, the commercial banks, even the funds that come from Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture, even the grants that come from international financing organizations, they majorly go to the commercial banks who are supposed to redistribute these funds to SMEs. The problem is that these commercial banks do not understand SMEs. They are not interested in funding SMEs. I mean, you can see a lot of them say, oh, we have a table for SME does. But who is willing to sit down and see that, you cannot change the SMEs in Nigeria. I mean, the SMEs in Nigeria run a particular model that works for them. So if they have a job, if they want to do their business a lot of informal way, how can we come to their level, fund them at their level, and then make sure they receive this money and then scale their businesses? So for me, I think the problem is let us change the model through which this funding comes. For now, the commercial banking model of funding SMEs is not working.
So do you see events like this bringing solutions to solve most of these challenges?
I think BusinessDay is doing excellently well. Why I tell you they do excellently well is that I was in the panel 2 years ago and I sat with other people from PwC. I mean, a partner from PwC. I think I also had a partner from Grant Thornton. And then I had other whites, big guys on the panel. Last time I also saw Ayo from Caladium speak. Passionately as he has spoken today, I saw Nelly from Niger Branch. These are people who SMEs cannot afford to talk to normally. I mean, yeah, we have a desk for SMEs in our firm, but I know it was quite expensive too. And how much of our time can we give to SMEs? We can't really give a lot of our time to SMEs, especially if they come to us in bits. But I'm happy that we have a platform, and I'm happy that BusinessDay has been consistently doing this to gather speakers, to gather people who can speak to SMEs on how to scale their businesses, whether from the leadership or business management side or from the compliance side, as you see them talking about taxation. Yeah, so they're really doing a good work. And I feel quite sad that we don't get to see a lot of SMEs attend these events. And sometimes when they attend, maybe they sit for the session for finance or funding. After that, they run away. And
go ahead.
But it's a good event.
Okay, lastly, so what are your key takeaways?
Yeah, key takeaway, quite a lot for me is, I think I have an advice for BusinessDay too, and even everybody who organizes events like this. 2 years ago, the last panel session was for tax. This year, the last panel session will also be tax. So that is how and that's exactly what happens with SMEs. So SMEs, as they start their businesses, they do not plan to keep their records. They do not even plan for taxation. And there's a lot of tax risks that lies with SMEs. So when investors are willing to fund SMEs, when they come, they see that the penalties for them having not complied with taxation is quite a lot. It's even more than the taxes they should have paid. So you see that the same culture of keeping taxation at the rear is what you see with SMEs. So they don't talk about taxation until the tax authorities come and say, oh, you have a fine. So for me, the takeaway is that we should give tax the priority it deserves. That's one. Second thing is that I encourage everybody who have learned one or two to follow up and see how they can improve on whatever they've learned today. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
My name is Lindo Nyeso, CEO Merit Multi-Services Incorporated, parent company to Makeup Maven NYNG, Beauty by Aubrey, and Melanie Cosmetics Nigeria. Thank you.
Okay, good to have you. Now, so during your panel section, you highlighted access to digital tools and documentations as one of the challenges SMEs face. So, and that brings me to digital literacy. One thing is to have these tools, another thing is to handle them. So what can we do to ensure digital literacy at the grassroots level?
For digital literacy, I would say educate yourself. Read. Social media is a basic tool. Google is an important tool. I highlighted the fact that SMEs, especially the mom and pop shops, the smaller ones, you know, you don't expect like the market woman who's selling it to have all this certification and to have all this. But I feel as you grow a business, as you develop a business, you have to get the basic certifications. You have to get the basic skill. You have to keep your paperwork. You have to keep a paper trail. And a paper trail, I believe, means you have to be able to keep records to how you pay your taxes. A lot of times you want to apply for, you know, even the funding, the basic grants and all. They're going to ask you for track records. I say to every SME or to every business owner, open something called a black book. Get a folder. Get all your basic information into, scan it into your phone so that anytime anyone asks you for it, you're able to forward it effortlessly. Your ability to be ready, and when I mean ready with all the tools and all the information that you have to progress any kind of registration, progress any kind of qualification or anything is a very big and interesting, you know, approval status for anyone who's seeking to get anything for you. Another process I always say to anyone is people look at your credit worthiness. Your credit worthiness is one that you pay your taxes regularly. Your credit worthiness is how are you able to even supply to people who are buying from you. Your readiness to and your ability to even want to grow your business in any way all adds up to you being like very, and we have our mothers who were market women. So for some reason, they had a paper trail for their monies. They knew what their profit margins were. They knew what kind of ROIs and were, you know, expecting them to people that they did business with. So it's a process that SMEs have to develop themselves, educate themselves, most importantly on.
Okay, access to funding remains a persistent issue when you talk about SMEs. So what can be done to tackle this system challenge?
As we discussed it, access to funding is relative. What are you looking for the funding for? A lot of people are not even qualified to get funding. I've had early in business funding that literally almost got me in trouble because I didn't know how to manage. So are you getting funding because you need the funding? There is an urgent need for it. Do you want to do supplies? Are you getting the funding because you need it to develop your business, to expand your business? Are you getting your funding for your own personal need? Those are two different things. So funding is relative. You have to go into your space and look at the growth of your business. And in all fairness, with the global inflation now, COVID, every business suffered. You know, if you have a business that is still standing after COVID, that survived COVID, I want to applaud you, you know, because that was a strategic and it was a systemic process to end a lot of businesses, you know. But a lot of businesses are still standing now. Some had to restart. A lot of the brands that we had, a lot of the things that we were doing, we had to restart them. So you now have to come to a place where, as the world is progressing, as the world is moving at a supersonic speed, what are you trying to do? How are you trying to grow your business? And at that point, what do you need the funding for? You know, in our case, we're thinking of 2025, a lot of expansion, a lot of made in Nigeria. How do we bring manufacturing into what we do? How do we get all the qualification, get all the NAFDAC, you know, registrations to be able to produce some of our product since we, you know, want to start exporting out of Nigeria? So it's relative, very relative.
Okay, let me have your key takeaways on the event today, and how do you think events like this can help accelerate the growth of Nigerian SME sector?
Well, it was important to have an event like this because it's educative, it's informative. Then there's a lot of networking involved. So you're meeting people who can, and then we're talking about collaboration, partnerships. How are you going to learn about collaboration and partnership if you're not coming to events like this? How would I have met Ayo? Or how would I have met Sheila OJ today? Or how would I have met Mr. Usu if I didn't come to an event today? To know that there are literally bodies and organizations and agencies that are very interested in giving out grants, looking for funding, helping you to document and package yourself to go seek funding from across the world, globally. And it's global business we want SMEs to do going forward.
My name is Paul Chibuzo Zoho. I am the head of SME business of Z-Banks Finance Limited.
Okay, sir. Access to funding has remained a persistent challenge in the sector. So what can be done as someone in the finance space to address most of these challenges?
A lot actually needs to be done first from the financial service provider, which is those of us in the financial service sector, from the SME part also, and also lastly from the government side. So let me start from the financial service provider. For SME financial service provider like the banks and Z-Banks, today we have been able to do a lot when it comes to helping SME businesses to have access to funds. And one of the things that we've been able to do is for us to be able to design our process in a way to suit the structure of SME businesses in Nigeria today. For example, we have over 40 million SME business. Out of these 40 million SME businesses, less than 5% are formalized, meaning that over 95% of them are not formalized. And formalization of business is one of the basic requirements for you to have access to funds. And like I mentioned during my speech, it is one thing for the financial service provider to design a requirement, basic requirements that SME have to meet in order for them to be able to have access to funds. But also is another thing for them to be able to design a requirement or an eligibility criteria to suit what is currently on ground. Now, if the majority of the SME businesses are not structured and we are setting up a structure, a requirement that require them to be structured, automatically it means that like every other financial institution, we are only focusing on the 5% that are formalized, meaning the 95% that are not formalized can have access to funds. So why don't you come up with a process or a structure, a requirement that will adapt to the 95% that are not structured? So this is what we are currently doing in Z-Banks. We are using technology to drive financial inclusion by not just focusing on the businesses that are well formalized, but also by trying to structure our process to be able to bring in on board a lot of SME businesses that are not formalized. That is on the financial service providers part. Now, on the SME business owners, they also need to go a step further. Of course, I know change. Change is very, very difficult. A lot of people do not want to change. They are so used to the way they used to do their business. Asking them now to change from what they are used to what needs to be done in order for them to be able to have access to funding is kind of difficult. So, having on board this SME, we try to train them, to coach them on how to formalize their business. In fact, we go to the point of helping them to register their business, also helping them to, we have services that can help them to document or formalize their business transaction. You understand? So we also go to educate and enlighten them on the importance of having a business well formalized. Because the truth is that if you cannot build a system around your business, if you die or anything happens, the business automatically dies with you. Yeah. So it is not enough for you to have a business that is making profits. Maybe you are generating 1 million. But the question is, can the business outlive you? Most of the big businesses in the world today, Walmart, Lego, they are all started as a family business. But they were able to build a system around their business. And it is the system that they built around their business that made this business uplift them. So the SME business owner needs to go a step further to be able to build a system around their business so that their business can uplift them. By so doing, they will be able to have not just access to fund, they will have this assurance that, okay, even if tomorrow something happened to you, I'm no longer, in the business, I am 101% sure that this business will terminally PP. And lastly, from the government aspect, on the government aspect, the government also needs to do a lot. And that was one of the things I appreciate so much about what one of the speakers mentioned, is that the government needs to build a system, to address the current constraint that SME businesses are facing today. Unfortunately, what the government is doing, they are trying, but they still have a lot to do, so the government cannot just continue the way they have been supporting SME business and expect SME business that are contributing more than 84% to the country GDP to be able to strike. So one of the things government needs to do is that government needs to come up with a program that will address the current challenges that SME businesses are currently facing. And I'm sure that if these three things are put into consideration, SME business today will be able to strive and have easy access to funds. And the truth is that there are trillions of dollars out there looking for businesses, looking for home. People use the word, home. And if SME businesses do not have the required structure, they will keep complaining that, it's difficult to have access to funds. The reason is because structurally, they are not even positioned, to have access to this fund. So the financial sectors have a big role to play. The SME business owners have a big role to play, and the government also have a very big role to play in order for us to be able to achieve this collective goal.
All right, so lastly, can we get your key takeaways from the event?
Okay, my key takeaway is just what I mentioned, is that every one of us here today, the SME, the financial sector, and the government, everyone have a very big role to play if we must succeed. Because there's no any economy in the world today that can do without SME. It's practically almost impossible. The truth is that we all know government has no business in business. Government needs to create an enabling environment for business owners, for SME business to be able to strive. So the best government can do is just to create an enabling environment. And that is where the private sector needs to actually come in. And for me, every one of us, the private sector, the government, the SME, everyone has a very big role. So one of the things I gain here is that we all have to play our own role. Everyone must play his own role properly. And in addition to that, everyone must understand the government, the financial service provider, which is the banks, and the SME needs to understand the pain points of each other. The government needs to understand what are the challenges the SMEs are facing. The SME needs to understand what are the challenges that the government are facing that is making the governments not to be able to provide this enabling environment. The same thing, the SME and the financial service provider needs to understand the pain point of each other so that everyone can structure their process to align with each other's pain point in order to be able to address these unique needs.
Thank you so much.
My name is Dr. Femi Egbeshola. I'm the National President, Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria, known as ASBOS.
Okay, sir. The panel discussions today are centered on funding as a major constraint in this space, and you're a big player in that space. So, your own view, what can be done to address this funding challenges in this space?
Funding has been one of the major challenges of MSME, N for nano, M for micro, S for small, M for medium. So it's been one major challenges across board for all of us. And we feel that government needs to approach it with a different model. The current model has been on for many years, and it has not been successful. Successful in the sense that 12% of MSME have been able to access funding over the years. At the same time, too, with all the many intervention fund of government, we have not seen tangible impact in the MSME ecosystem. It means that something new needs to be done. One of the things that we feel needs to be done is that government really need to collaborate with critical stakeholders in the MSME ecosystem for whatever policy they want to do, including funding policy and intervention programs. If government is able to cooperate and at the same time collaborate with critical stakeholders in the MSME sector, we will be able to co-own, co-create, co-implement, co-monitor, and co-evaluate the funding process. And that will give us a different result. Again, also is the fact that the major segment of the MSME ecosystem is the nano and the micro sector. They form about 85% of the MSME ecosystem. The funding model we have now does not go in tandem with their capacity. And the structures available now is not accessible to this particular set of nano and micro business owners. We need to begin to draw down and look at how we can rejig our financing policies to be able to accommodate these vulnerable ones and bring them on board for funding. We also need to ensure that a lot of capacity building is done for the MSMEs also, so that they will get to learn where funding are, how to access it, what they need to do, and build their capacities to be able to do it. We also need to work on ensuring that financial literacy is improved upon, so that when they get this funding, they'll be able to use it for the right purpose and we pay back at the right time.
Okay, so I think you answered both my first and second question well. Yeah, okay, so let me have your key takeaways on the event.
Yeah, for today, I think it's a wonderful platform created by BusinessDay to practically build the capacities of MSMEs again. For us to grow, we must be able to scale. It is either we scale or we die. And this event has given us a lot of insights, a lot of nuggets on how we can scale our businesses. We want to begin to see actionable plans coming up from the MSMEs that are here today to take away what information they've gotten here to improve their businesses, such that 2025 and beyond, we see business scaling up and coming back to give testimonies that these are some of the things they learned while they attended BusinessDay SME 100 Conference 2024.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
My name is Kehinde Oluwayemisi Omojigbe Ifebogo. I'm the founder, CEO of the Fufu Factory.
Congratulations on winning an award on the under SME 100 category by BusinessDay. So how do you feel to be recognized for what you do?
It feels good, really. Honestly, it feels good. This is hard work. This is perseverance. This is doggedness. This is telling myself I've chased other people's dream for almost 25 years. It's time to chase mine and not throwing in the towel in any way, in any form. And this is starting a business that is totally not the way it's done anywhere in the whole of West Africa. And I'm putting my exposure, my background, my education, my experience, I'm bringing it into something local. I'm making it something that is worthwhile and everybody can appreciate and everybody can have access to.
I think beautiful. I love the fact that, as you said, you're taking something local, international. I mean, so that is phenomenal. So the theme for this conference or for this award event is Scaling for Success, Growth Opportunities for Nigeria SMEs. So now that you've been recognized for what you've achieved so far, going forward, how will Fufu Factory be scaling for success? What are some of the things that you were doing that will serve as a template for other businesses to learn from as well?
For us, this award is just like our springboard, our starting point, because this is saying we're just starting. Being recognized, it's not the success. It's sustainability of sustaining the capacity to be able to sustain that success. That's what this is for us. Telling ourselves that, look, in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, in 40 years' time, when you come back, we're still there. And for us, part of what we're doing, we're scaling up. We've invested in machines and equipment. We're looking at having more branches for our business. We're looking at working more with distributors and online platforms to be able to get our goods more easily accessibly. We're looking at working with logistic companies because for us, customers' experience is the most important thing for us. As long as the customer is happy with what you get from you, you'll always be sure of having a repeat business. And for us, a returning customer is our joy, is our pride because it's full. You eat every day. And so for a customer to choose us over and over and over again, that's the biggest thing for us. And that's our staying power, that when you buy from us, you have a good experience for you to want to come back. And for us is for Fufu Factory to be an household name in the whole of Africa and beyond.
And that's lovely. Thank you very much for your time. And I look forward to the great and outstanding feat that Fufu Factory will be achieving onwards.
Thank you so much. It's an honor being here. And thank you for this. I appreciate it.
My name is Nsika Akwan, and I'm the founder at ChipFest Limited. Now, ChipFest is a travel agency specialized in arranging packages, amazing packages study packages and vacation packages, hotel reservations, flight reservation with exclusive rates, and everything you need in the travel industry.
So first of all, congratulations on winning the award tonight. And I'm sure you've done a lot of things to be here. So the theme for the event today is scaling for success, growth opportunities for Nigerian SMEs. So what has Chief First done, or how did Chief First fit into this theme, scaling for success?
Chief First have actually done a lot, especially in the travel industry, because we try as much as possible to offer the best rates possible to most people that reach out to us. Most of our clients, in fact, they're always very happy based on the fact that they reach out to us and we get them fantastic deals. And we also try to also portray the country in a very good way, of course, because we know things are happening, the country is the way it is, but we still try as much as possible to give the best service that we can do from our own end. Business is, you do well, you do the same to the other people that are reaching out to you and everything. So Chief First has been there to ease the process. In fact, our slogan is travel with ease. So you get to travel with ease, conveniently. There's no scams on, so we can just get you exactly what you need at Chief. So that's it.
Okay, so going forward, what should we be expecting from Chief First?
Okay, Chief First, we have an amazing thing coming up, right? We are working with a lot of travel agencies to get the best deals. We're working on a platform that can actually give Nigerians the best deals from a lot of travel agencies that are currently existing. But we've seen a lot happening. You don't need to go too far. We just do a random search and you get to see everything you need from every travel agency. So you get the best rates. Chief First are actually been there to ease everything that has to do with travel, to make it cheaper, more affordable. You can see it anywhere you are. So that's what we'll do at Chief First. And that's what we're looking at doing next year and the coming years.
So last question, just tell me about the taste of Nigerians for traveling.
What?
The taste of Nigerians for travel.
The taste of Nigerians for travel, of course, everybody knows how Nigerians everybody wants to live, right? Everybody wants to live. Most people will go for study, some will go for visits. We do have lots of requests coming in, every time. Just that these days, the whole thing with the dollar has made some people lay back. But then we are still getting Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians want to travel. And we, on their end, we actually see some other people saying they want to actually come back. Yeah, there are instances that will tell you, no, I can't stay here anymore. I want to come back and see how I can continue here in Nigeria. But the rate at which people are living, of course, is way, way higher than ones coming back.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
I look forward to more from Chief First.
My name is Adebimpe Osointi. I am the CEO and founder of Dear's Delight. Dear's Delight is a healthy treat manufacturing company in Lagos, Nigeria. And we offer a range of healthy treats from dairy, dried fruits and snacks to consumers who are looking to build a healthy lifestyle and just a healthier journey in general.
Okay, good to meet you, ma'am. And first of all, congratulations on, winning the award this evening.
Thank you.
So the focal points of us for our discussion this evening for the award is scaling for success. And you play in the manufacturing part, a lot of challenges, a lot of headaches, a lot of, different. Yeah, as you're solving one problem, another is coming forward. So despite all of this, how have you managed, or what have you done so well to scale for success to make sure that you give your customers what they want, not cutting back on quality and quantities?
I think for us, then obviously we have to focus ultimately that we want to drive quality. Yes, there's been challenges, energy for going up, even your staff and all the other issues. But what we have done is planning, always forecasting into the future, knowing the Nigerian economy in general and knowing all how things have turned out. We always forecast way ahead to kind of do for ourselves for what might come. So what that does is even when prices shoot up, they're not shaking all the time because you have kind of buffered for that. So I think another thing that has worked for us is carrying the team along. I think when they understand why some certain decisions are made, they're able to key into the vision, versus you just telling them, go do this, and they didn't do it well, but they didn't know why, but when you carry them, so that I'm very transparent to my team, this is why we're doing this is where we're going to, this is the reason, what do you think? So that we're here together. I'm not running the show alone. So I think that has also worked for me tremendously.
I love that because, one of my mentors would always say, your first customers are your employees. So thank you for taking care of them. Right, so I want to ask you a question I've not asked anybody, which is, how was 2024 for you? And then do you never thought about, okay, maybe at the end of it all, you'll be getting an award. I mean, for me, that is like the icing on the cake. Well, how was the journey for you? And then how do you feel to have won an award despite all?
I definitely didn't think, it wasn't in the plan. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't expecting it. So it's come as a pleasant surprise. I came in with my head of sales. It's just like, they're recognizing us. So they are seeing what we're doing. And I was like, yes, this is not about the product in the store. This is about the business being recognized. So that is a big deal for us. And it's quite exciting. I mean, in terms of the year, I think for everybody, it took us all by surprise. What you thought you knew or you went into 24 with a fantastic plan was all shaken. You know, we see ourselves every month. We're like, so what are you changing? You know, forecasting and all of that. So it was tough, but it ended on a very good note. I think for us, we worked really hard. A lot of the stores we supplied, you know, for some of our products, it looks like premium. So when you think of the Nigerian environment, the first thing is like, that's the first thing people would stop taking. Like they need to eat bread and rice first before they think of Greek yogurt, granola, cranberry, those premium things like, you know, but I would say it was still a very good year for us. Against all odds, yes, it was still very good for us. And to that, I'm thankful to all our customers. Yeah, it was a good one.
All right, thank you very much. And I wish you a more beautiful 2025.
Thank you too.
My name is Dr. Olayinka Jibuno. I'm a consultant psychiatrist and psychologist. And I run a center called the Freudian Center, which is a healthcare practice that caters to the mental health care of Lagosians. We care for individuals across all age groups, from children to the geriatric age group. And we also take help with addiction disorders.
Congratulations, you know, for winning a well-deserved award, because 2024 was a roller coaster year for all businesses. Well, I want to hear from you. How was 2024 for you?
Wow, like you just said, it was roller coaster. We all know that there's been an economic downturn, and because of the reform going on, and businesses are feeling the impact of the reforms that are ongoing. But, you know, with uncertainties, it forces you to innovate as a business.
Yeah.
You really don't have a choice, but you have to innovate to meet the prevailing conditions. So that's what we had to do. Practice, you know, what had to incorporate other businesses into our core business just to help us to survive the economy.
So there is a rumor I'm hoping you will help us, you know, dispel tonight, which is that when it comes to anything mental health or psychiatric solutions, Nigerians withdraw because we believe we are tough enough. So is that really the case, or are people, you know, opening up about their mental health issues or challenges from your own point of view?
So with westernization and globalization, the culture is changing. You know, people are now more aware. You know, they go on the internet, they read more. So they're now more aware about these things, and they actually come out and seek for help themselves. And the interesting thing is that mental health is silent until the individual starts to portray certain behavioral issues. So sometimes family members might be silent about it, but when there are outright behavioral issues, you know, they have no choice but to seek for help. So truly the culture is changing. We're getting people come out to take for help, and the patronage has been improving over time.
How do you feel about this award tonight?
I'm glad. I'm happy that the work we've been doing is being appreciated and is being noted by other people. And I thank BusinessDay for this opportunity. And thank you for, this is an applause for my team. So I'm receiving this award on behalf of my entire team. And I thank you for recognizing us and the work we're doing.
Okay. So the last question now. Nigeria's entire 2024, not knowing that fuel will move from 200 to 1,000. Now we're on the brink of entering a new year. So how should we prepare for any shock that will be coming, you know, F-wise?
Truly, irrespective of where you live in the world, whether Nigeria or even outside the country, the economic challenges we're facing is actually a global issue. Because I believe because of the war crisis in certain parts of the world and the oil issues across the world, it's a global problem. So we have to, irrespective of where we live or work, we have to learn to be more resilient as humans. The more resilient we are, the more strengthened we are against whatever economic challenges we face. So for me, I'm going to preach, tonight I'm just going to preach resilience. Learn how to be resilient in the face of adversity, in the face of challenges, and you make it through no matter what.
All right, thank you very much once again.
are watching Business Day Television.
When you think about the word supplements, it tells you that you're trying to make up something that isn't there.
Right.
But if you're a normal human being, you don't have any what we call malabsorption syndromes, like your body can absorb the food that you eat. You actually don't need them.
Right.
So every nutrient that you require can be consumed in the food that you eat.
Right.
You find out that a lot of those people that are on so-called low-carb diets tend to constantly have low energy. You're not able, so your brain actually needs glucose to function.
Yes.
So you sort of operate below your potential because you're constantly hungry. However, it depends on your level of physical activity. For example, if I'm a laborer or I'm a farmer, I work on the farm, obviously I'm going to need more carbohydrates because I'm expending more energy. But if you're someone like most of us that have desk jobs, you get into the office at 8 in the morning, you sit till 5.
Yeah, exactly.
You're really sedentary. Where we recommend supplements typically are, for example, if an individual has what we call a malabsorption syndrome, like your body can't absorb the food that you eat.
Right.
Or say pregnant women, your requirements are a lot more because of the baby. We put them on supplements to make up for the deficiency. But for a normal human being, every single nutrient that you require can be consumed in food.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's
so
good to know.
save your money.
Thank you, Dr. Blossom, for that.
Is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and
DG, you are welcome, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Also joining us in the studio to look at this together with the DG is one of the senior editor of Business Day, Mr. Daniel Obi.
Thank you very much.
And you are welcome.
Thank you, Joshua.
Yeah. So let's get starting. DG, I'll come straight to you, and maybe you should start by asking you to look at 2024. How was 2024, especially for the organized private sector? How would you say the organized private sector fared in 2024?
Well, thank you once again for having us. It's our pleasure being here, and thank you also for the beautiful work that the organization is doing.
Thank you.
For us, I think it's a mixed bag of potpourri, if we want to call it that. The new administration came in. They're not really new again because they spent almost 2 years now. So they came in and they took some very, very fundamental steps. Exercise some discretion, some forced discretion, that came to shape 2024 the way we found it then. And key amongst them that you all know is the issue of subsidy removal, which changed the dynamics across board. And then the forex, removing the dual market rate on forex and allowing the market to play its role, even though it's still a guided free market, And those two issues created a lot of ripples. While we acknowledge the fact that the administration met quite a bit of the situation was a bit bad in the context of what was found on ground. Subsidy was already removed, and there was no provision for subsidy before the last administration left. At least up to any time from mid-year, there was no provision for subsidy. Our debt service ratio, the last administration confessed that we are spending over 90%, over 95% to service debt. A lot of money was printed, trillions of money was printed, so that gave us a false sense of safety as a country. Meanwhile, we've dug ourselves deeply in a hole. So, and they say once you find yourself in a hole, the first thing you do is to stop digging. So once you stop digging, it doesn't mean that you're out of the hole. You have to stop digging, then you have to find pebbles, you have to find gravel to fill back the hole. While you are making progress, but the progress you are making is not going to be visible. Until you get yourself back to zero level, then that's when the progress, what it seems as visible progress, we start coming. So 2024 interest rate was high, double digit. We still struggle with double digit. Inflation was where we all found it, which also hit directly at the heart of business. Forex was at the point was almost 2,000 naira per 2,000 naira for $1, which directly hits to the heart of funds for businesses. So everybody that have borrowed cash, borrowed fund a year or 2 years ago at probably when dollars was 400 or 500 or 600 naira per dollar, at the point you just realize you have to start paying back at 2,000 naira, which creates its own dynamics. Regulatory issues still remain part of the challenge we continuously face, and those are part of the contradictions, inherent contradictions that we find in the system. So while some segment of the government is doing its best to create an environment that businesses can operate in profitably, you still find in the same government some sectors or some regulatory authorities or even legislators creating bottlenecks to actually neutralize the efforts that others are making, and which for us is quite a big issue. So it was a potpourri of challenges, of opportunities, of risks we have to take. Then we had the energy crisis, the removal of subsidy for power. We had band A, band B, and most businesses would probably be in band A area. So surely shoot up the cost of production, and you cannot proportionately increase the cost of goods because the consumer spending is also shrinking. So at last count, at the end of 2024, we had close to $500 billion, if not more, unsold stocks in the private sector, which also is to the real issue. Because if I have over 500 billion unsold stocks, those stocks are at the risk of expiry. And probably the business is running on credit. So what will you take the creditors? Then also we had the issue with organized labor, the strikes, the threat to strike concerning the issue of the minimum wage. And for us, your loans don't go on strike. The bank will tell you, okay, because you are not working, okay, let's put a stop to your interest payment. So businesses were squeezed in 2024. Why there are opportunities, some of the things that government did to stabilize the economy, we saw it, we appreciated it, but the biggest for us coming out of 2024 was probably the deepened engagement, the potential to engage further, the willingness to engage further. Some ministries, departments and agencies they've stepped up engagement more than we had in 2020, 2023 and 2024. So those are flashpoints, those are, when they say there is light at the tunnel, at the end of the tunnel, and we seem to be seeing a ray of the light. Open at 2025, we'll burst out in a ray of light.
DG, that's exactly where I want to come in, the engagement with the private sector. Government came in with bold steps, like you mentioned earlier, and towards the 2024, they started engaging. But I'm asking you, don't you think that those engagements, because like you painted the complexity in the economy in 2023-24, which most Nigerians were not aware of. It was, inflation was high, debt was the issue, electricity. But those engagements, don't you think that government should have started early with them to engage you, in order to have a kind of partnership in order to drive the economy?
Absolutely. That is the expectation. In an ideal situation, those engagements, because policies, laws, and programs, they are not ends on their own.
I agree.
There are individuals and businesses that those policies will affect. And you need also those individuals, those organizations to make the policy work. So if they decide to frustrate it, then it becomes much more difficult for government itself to survive. So we had expected that, those engagements should have come in before those actions. And why government might have its reasons. They say, look, we are at a very difficult point, but you still cannot rule out, you cannot excuse the need for engagement. For some ministries, permit me to mention the ministries. I think Ministry of Industry and Investment have been very open, engagement at all levels with the new Minister for Industry and Investment, Dr. Jumoke. The Minister for State has also been very engaging. We've met the Minister of Finance, our Quadri Minister of the Economy. We've had engagements. We've had engagement with some agencies that are also aligning to the need for organized private sector to drive the economy.
Yes.
If you talk of GDP growth, it boils down to how well the organized private sector is doing. If you talk of job creation, it boils down to how well the private sector is doing. If you take the private sector out of the whole equation, then we'll find ourselves in crisis.
And perhaps I should follow. I know sometime in 2022 or 2021 or thereabout, there was this issue that was a sort of a big challenge to NECA. I remember talking about National Assembly, various committees of the National Assembly inviting MDs of private organizations, which I remember NECA went to court to see. I don't know at what level you are now. Has that issue been sorted out? Are you still having this same challenge?
It's still a big issue for us. Now, if I'm an investor and I have 10 billion naira to invest, I look for three or four things. I look for how easy is the regulatory environment, or how predictable is the regulatory environment. I'll look at the judicial system. So if there are crises, if there are disputes with the judicial system, be able to resolve those crises as quickly as possible. And then I look at how easy will it be for me to repatriate my funds.
Yeah.
Those are critical issues. Now, in the context of repatriation of funds, this government have done creditably well. At the point, some airlines were not even coming to Nigeria again because they had issues repatriating their funds. And this government has done well to pay the whole backlog that they are in foreign airlines. Now, in the context of the legislative area, for us is this. We had contention on the issue of Section 88 and 89 of the Constitution. The Assembly felt they have the right to carry out oversight functions, and organized businesses felt the Constitution, Section 88 and 89, give them the right to carry out oversight functions on agencies, ministries, and departments that government appropriate funds. So if government does not appropriate funds to a private organization, then the National Assembly doesn't have the right to carry out oversight function on those organizations. They are executive agencies that are constitutionally created to adjudicate issues on those agencies. Like NSITF, there is an NSITF Act that empowers the NSITF to regulate, to even also appropriate sanctions and to manage the funds. There is ITF Act, there is National Local Content Act. So all those agencies, they are created by the Constitution to interface with organized businesses. So our position is, look, it should be double jeopardy for organized businesses. It is time wasting to, while you have interacted with your direct executive agency that is overseeing your activities, then you are still called at the National Assembly level to say, come and give account for what you are being held accountable for. So those are the critical issues. And for us, beyond being destructive to organized businesses, it also sounds a negative flag to investors. So look, if I had gotten a clean bill of health with NSITF, with ITF, with Ministry of Interior, then if the National Assembly have challenges, then they should deal with those agencies. If the law setting up those agencies are not strong enough, then they should work on strengthening those laws. But jumping the agency to come to organized businesses, for us, we feel is destructive. And that's why we went to court. You know, it's not personal. It's just for the court to interpret the law, to say, look, yes, the National Assembly have the right. The National Assembly doesn't have the right. And we have judgments, even up to the appeal court. They have found that the National Assembly doesn't have the right. So our position is, look, the Assembly should just respectfully, respect the law and wait for their Supreme Court to give the final judgment. But that hasn't been the case. Even as at Friday, we still had members, still coming to say they've received one letter from one committee or the other. And it will surprise you that the House of Reps have over 100 ad hoc committees. The Senate have almost the similar number of committees. Now imagine all of those committees breaking down organized businesses, inviting them for one investigative hearing in Abuja or the other. And flight is not cheap now. So it's those are our concern, and it's just for us is seeking the clarification from the court to say, look, this is right, basically an interpretation of the Constitution. So it's not a personal battle with the National Assembly, but it's part of the need for us to continuously build institutions, so that each institution, each agency, each arm of government know its limits, know its rights, and know its responsibilities.
Okay, in 2024, I know that one of the issues that you have alluded to here is the issue of industrial relations. I know that in 2024, it was relatively stable. I'm trying to follow up. It wasn't so bad, really. I don't know what you will attribute that to. And then in 2025, what are the measures that you think can be put in place to further strengthen industrial relations between the employees and the employers, which is the body that you represent?
Thank you. For us in NECA, the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, we preach responsible enterprises. Enterprises that are responsible to the internal stakeholders, which is their workers, and the union, and also responsible to government in the context of paying your taxes, paying all your dues. And in 2024, I think one of the key issues, one of the things that we can attribute that to was, I think, the first half of 2024, we were all focused on negotiating the national minimum wage. So there was no reason to fight. So we're all engrossed at the committee level, negotiating the national minimum wage. So the fight, if you call it fight, or the engagement, was limited to the room, to the committee room. So the banters were done in the room, wasn't wasn't done in the public place. So I think that was what sufficed till about April, May, June. Around June thereabout, our colleagues in the union started the issue of putting pressure on government to implement the minimum wage, and that created some level of distortion in the business. But we keep engaging, basically. And if you remember, even before the government made this pronouncement, the organized private sector had gone ahead to give some level of support, directly and indirectly, to their member companies. We have organizations that came up with the hybrid form of work so that they can reduce pressure on their staff because of the high cost of energy and high cost of transportation. We have businesses that also started giving their employees products, just to cushion the effect of we have employers that have even increased salaries without the prompting of the union. So we had responded responsively to the challenges of the employee. So it wasn't more of crisis in the private sector. So the focus was basically in the public sector, where government was not doing much. And when government also signed the issue of wage awards, it was also difficult for government at a point to honor the issue of wage awards. So, but we continue to engage the union at the back. We continue to preach the issue of less social dialogue, let it reign in this context of our engagement. Because if the bed, like a local adage will say, if the tree is not stable, then the bird cannot conveniently perch on it. So if organized businesses that is already challenged is pushed further into the precipice, then the first or the biggest casualty will be the workers.
Okay. All right, DJ, come in here. You're talking about pillars of driving the economy, which you started earlier, and I think I underscored that, both macro and micro pillars. Again, you didn't talk about insecurity. It appears it is, but again, is that where are we? Because we are hearing. I'm going to ask two questions here. Where are we on FDI? Looking at those pillars, insecurity. Look at inflation. Look at interest rate. Where are we in FDIs? In coming into the country, because we are hearing different figures, to drive down the unemployment rate, which you represent. Again, inflation is high at 34%. It has really pushed some of us down the ladder. Many Nigerians even the 70,000 minimum wage cannot take them home anymore. So what can we do to really? I know CBN is trying on that aspect, on that corridor, but what can we do to actually drive inflation down?
For FDI, the president has traveled far and wide.
Yeah.
And we said this, that look, even if the president relocates to Europe, every investor is a rational investor.
Agree.
And capital will go to an environment where it can maximize profit. Now, if I'm an investor, and I have $100 billion to spend, I'll probably meet the Ministry of Trade and Investment to sound out, okay, what are opportunities. I'll meet the National Investment Promotion Council of the country. Okay, what are the investment opportunities? I'll probably Google some information about the country. But the information that will sway me is a call to another business owner that I know in the country to say, how is it on ground? His comment, testimonial, will influence me more than whatever the country will say. Now, except an investor that is coming to game the country, or to game the system, or to contribute to the corruption in the system, that will not mind whatever is happening. I say, okay, don't worry. If we can game the system, if we can run it the way they want it to run, then let's go. So for us, FDI has not met the expectation of even government. Apart from portfolio investment, people that just bring in their money, put it in shares, put it. I know they make their money, they cash out. But real foreign direct investment, we've not had it so good. And it boils down to, if you don't deal with those contradictions, if you don't deal with the issues, because look, in the last 2-3 years, we have some very, very important brands leaving this country. You have Microsoft leaving, you have Procter & Gamble leaving, you have GSK leaving. Those are big brands. Those that are not leaving yet, they've cut down their production capacity. Some are changing their production models, making the country a sales point where they look. Those are signals that an investor will look at. Why are you leaving? If the investment, yes, some are coming. Then you have to interrogate those that are coming. That if some credible ones are leaving or they are reducing their production capacity, then what is the interest of those that are actually coming? Are they coming to serve the country, or they are coming because they've seen loopholes where they can actually game the system? On the issue of inflation, I think it all boils down to simple economics. Because we try to just bring it down to simple economics, so that sometimes we use the grammar to just confuse ourselves. Inflation is general increase in price level, basically. And one of the way to address it, simple economics 101 for us, is just increase your production capacity. Increase production capacity. Once you are producing at a level that you can feed or meet your local needs, then naturally the law of demand and supply will come in and play its part. You mentioned the issue of security. Food inflation. If the farmers cannot go to farm, or if they can farm and they cannot harvest, it naturally, the law of demand and supply comes because demand will naturally upscale supply, which make the price to increase. And generally, all the goods you have, go to the manufacturing, go to the real sector, and you can connect with the challenges that they are facing. So, and those are the big drivers of inflation. If we don't deal with our production capacity, then we are digging more hole for ourselves. And come to think of it, we pride ourselves as the biggest country in Africa. The AFCFTA has come to stay, which is the reality. But we are private to be in a conversation late last year where the Director General of
You are watching Business Day Television.
A great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of business.
On government policies and their economic implications.
For being consistent in organizing these CEO forums for almost the last 14 years, I think this was a commendation, and I think something
business leaders want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of...
Good afternoon and welcome to the BDTV News at Noon. I am Norm.
there's only so far they can go, or they'll be making investments that cannot be returned in the foreseeable future, and that is not right. People talk nowadays about patient capital. No matter how patient the capital is, that is waiting for a long time to get returns, those returns must be built into the system. That means somebody must be paying.
This effect that, it can be worse than it was before. Yeah. And then you have expectation around interest rates, because as inflation begins to moderate, the monetary authorities will have the reason to cut interest rates. And also even additionally, we have the credit concession scheme for the businesses. All of these altogether mean that we should have the opportunity to celebrate or begin to celebrate in 2025 that the sacrifices that we made as a people is beginning to yield results. And for people generally, it's to not just all be negative about the economy.
Which is AI at this point. And for so many businesses, they are lagging behind in joining up with this trend of AI. What would be your